Chapter 622. Yiwuyo frowned as he looked at the ceiling flame lion king that was hundreds of meters tall in front of him. He couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. This shouldn't be the case. Logically speaking, his improved demolition art should be very damaging to the enemy. It had been more than 2 years. Why did the flaming lion kings disassemble? Always deal 0 damage to enemies, but deal 200% critical true damage to buildings. Abba! Abba! The ceiling flame lion king roared. It wasn't the roar of a lion, but the sound of Abba. Don't talk. If there's anything, let's type it out. Okay? Yiwuyo looked at the ceiling flame lion king helplessly. Next, the ceiling flame lion king began to get busy, writing the words in the shape of a lion. Master Lion doesn't know either. Maybe this is Master Lion's specialty. Roar. As he couldn't roar, the ceiling flame lion king stubbornly wrote out the word roar. This? What kind of specialty is this? It shouldn't be at all. This cultivation technique has been modified by me, Yiwuyo. No matter what, it shouldn't be useless at all. Yiwuyo frowned. He actually felt a sense of defeat from the ceiling flame lion king. Why don't you try it on me? Yiwuyo looked at the ceiling flame lion king. Abba? Abba? Lion language, are you serious? The ceiling flame lion king raised the small wooden tablet. Yes, I'm serious. Come on, I don't believe in evil. Yiwuyo nodded. Seeing that Yiwuyo had already said so, the ceiling flame lion king did not hold back anymore. Demonic energy condensed from its body, and a red demonic energy appeared all over its body. Following that, the sky began to change color, as if thunder was rumbling. Boom. Rumble. Next, above the sky, the golden word demolition appeared. Strange. Everything is clearly normal. Why is there no damage? Yiwuyo rubbed his chin and looked up at the sky with a puzzled expression. At this moment, the golden word demolition had already landed. Boom. Boom. In an instant, a strong aura spread out in all directions. The surrounding trees collapsed, and the ground began to crack. Within a radius of 10 miles, the ground collapsed. But, this is really useless? Yiwuyo, who was at the center of the dismantle symbol art, was completely fine. He had clearly removed all of his defenses. But, what's going on? Yiwuyo frowned. At this moment, the sound of space being torn apart rang out in the sky, following which a colossal object slowly emerged from the void. Oh, 8th senior brother, I haven't seen you for a few years. How come you've become like this? Since when did you like not wearing clothes? At this moment, a clear and bright laughter rang out from the enormous creature. This voice, is it little junior brother? Yiwuyo froze for a moment. He raised his head and saw Ning Tian standing on the deck of the ship, smiling at him. F***CK. It's really junior brother. You're finally back. Yiwuyo's eyes lit up. 8th senior brother. Why don't we put on some clothes first before catching up? Ning Tian glanced at the unsightly clothes and frowned as he slowly said. Yiwuyo carefully typed a question mark and then lowered his head. What the F***CK? Following that, a cry of surprise startled the birds and beasts in the forest. Ning Tian couldn't help but sigh. It turned out that the cry of an ancient god realm expert was actually so powerful. Shatian, F***CKU. When did your dismantling technique include clothes? Yiwuyo cursed as he hurriedly took out a set of clothes and put them on. Lion language. Are you blaming me? Roar. The ceiling flame lion king had an innocent look on its face. Shatian, long time no see. Ning Tian stood on the deck of the void ship and looked at the ceiling flame lion king with a smile. Seeing Ning Tian, the ceiling flame lion king was startled at first. Then, tears flowed down its face and a large amount of snot fell from its nose. Below, Yiwuyo suffered again and cursed, F***CK. I just changed my clothes. You shocked the ceiling flame lion king. Ceiling flame lion king IQ +1. At this moment, in his mind, the system's voice sounded. Ning Tian, roar. The ceiling flame lion king let out a lion roar and felt that its intelligence had returned a little. Eighth senior brother, why are you and Sha Tian cultivating here? I remember that this place is very far from the heavenly palace, right? Looking at Yi Wuyo and the ceiling flame Lion King, Ning Tian couldn't help but ask in confusion. Cough, cough. Well, there's no need to mention it. Yi Wuyo coughed dryly and blushed. I won't tell you. It's because we used the dismantling technique too frequently and destroyed the heavenly palace several times that we were chased out by the eldest senior sister. If I were to tell you, how embarrassing would that be? Oh, so you were chased out. Ning Tian rubbed his chin. How did you know? Yi Wuyo was startled. You said it out loud. Ning Tian spread out his hands. Yi Wuyo scratched his head and chuckled. Hee hee, junior brother, do you think I'm strong? Are you envious? It's my IQ. Oh right, you came here alone? Where are sisters-in-law and the others? Yi Wuyo looked at the deck and didn't see Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao. Oh them. Ning Tian looked inside the void ship and said quietly, they're too tired from cultivating, so they're resting inside the void ship. I see. Sisters-in-law are really motivated. Yi Wuyo heaved a sigh of relief. He wasn't wearing any clothes just now. If the two girls saw him like this, he might as well kill himself. Let's go, senior brother. Take this opportunity to return to the heavenly palace with me? Ning Tian looked at Yi Wuyo. Sure. This time, the eldest senior sister will definitely let me through the gates of the heavenly palace. Yi Wuyo nodded solemnly. After all, I only dismantled a little bit of the heavenly palace. 10 minutes later. Senior brother, this is the little bit of the heavenly palace you mentioned? Ning Tian's mouth twitched as he looked at the pile of ruins in front of him. On top of the ruins, there was a pitiful and weak house. Cough, cough. Don't mind the details, right, Sha Tian? Yi Wuyo coughed dryly. Roar. The ceiling flame Lion King roared. Let's go, Sha Tian. Let's tell senior sister that we've brought junior brother back. Yi Wuyo took a deep breath and mustered up his courage to walk toward the small house with the ceiling flame Lion King. Senior sister, Sha Tian and I are back. Come and see who we've brought back. Just as Yi Wuyo and the ceiling flame Lion King stepped onto the ruins, they felt a force before they could finish their words. Then, they turned into a shooting star and disappeared before Ning Tian's eyes. Ning Tian. It seemed like the eighth senior brother and the ceiling flame Lion King were blacklisted by the heavenly palace. Right at this moment, there was a slight change in the ruins in front of him. Author's note, 5 chapters. Consider it as making up for yesterday's issue. There will be a poll on the public account. Everyone can participate. It's about character illustrations. Public account, Gujiang. Chapter 623. Above the ruins, in the only house, a dazzling blue light shone around. Then, the house began to crack and began to collapse. Now, the only building was going to be gone. Husband, I think I heard a scream just now. I also heard Sha Tian's voice. That guy can speak normally now? At this time, inside the void ship, the two women slowly walked out. Oh, it's nothing. Just a man and a lion were sent flying. It's not a big problem. Ning Tian waved his hand and looked over. A smirk appeared on his face and he couldn't help but tease. How is it? How do you feel after 2 days of adjustment? Are you still tired and painful? You shameless. Luo Wuqing blushed again and glared at Ning Tian. Haha, aside. Su Yueyao stretched, her fox tail swaying gently, and looked at Ning Tian. It's okay. Haha, besides, Wuqing and I have made a breakthrough in our strength. Husband, if you want to have a baby, you have to work harder. Ning Tian, forget it. Don't worry about having a baby for the time being. Ning Tian pondered for a moment and shook his head. Hearing this, both women's beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of doubt, and they looked up at Ning Tian. It shouldn't be. How could this old, perverted man not think about this? Husband, do you have a fever? Luo Wuqing put her jade-like hand on Ning Tian's forehead. How can a heavenly god realm cultivator have a fever? Ning Tian smiled helplessly, then grabbed Luo Wuqing's hand and said slowly, just don't have a baby for the time being. But the process is still necessary. The reason why Ning Tian said this was because he had his own plan. At present, his strength was not strong, and a child was a burden for him. If he were to have a child, he would at least need to have the ability to protect the child. However, it was clear that he was far from being able to do so at the moment. Only when he was completely strong could he ensure the child's safety. If she was not strong and insisted on having a child, it would be an extremely irresponsible act. I understand. Luo Wuqing was stunned for a moment. She looked at the serious face of Ning Tian and couldn't help but stare blankly for a long time. Finally, she couldn't help but smile and sigh in her heart. This guy had grown a lot. Haha, then in the future, I'll have to take precautions for my cultivation. By the side, Sui Weiyao joked. Boom. At this moment, a loud explosion was heard. Next, the last house in the ruins collapsed, and at the same time, a cold energy spread out in all directions, and the ruins on the ground were crushed in an instant. The cold energy enveloped the entire void ship. Then, a huge divine ice palace rose from the ruins. As expected of eldest senior sister, this level of attainment in the law of ice is really terrifying. Seeing the cold energy form a majestic divine ice palace in an instant, Ning Tian couldn't help but sigh. In his mind, he thought of the stubborn girl playing with the ice blade. In the blink of an eye, 1,000,000 years had passed. He just didn't know. How was that girling now? Little junior brother, come in. At this moment, Yi Shuang's voice rang out from the divine ice palace. A ball of blue light shone from the divine ice palace, and the tightly closed door opened for Ning Tian and the others. Let's go. Hearing this, Ning Tian waved his hand and put away the void ship. Then, he pulled the two girls and walked into the divine ice palace. In the divine ice palace, Yi Shuang and the others were already waiting in the palace. When they saw Ning Tian and the others, they couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Haha, little junior brother, you're finally back. Pei Hu laughed heartily and walked over to pat Ning Tian's shoulder. Little junior brother, welcome back. Wen Qing was as gentle as ever. She hugged her Peepa and smiled gently at Ning Tian. Hee. Now that little junior brother is back, I can let little junior brother try out my newly developed medicinal pills again. It's all 8th senior brother's fault. Clearly, 8th senior brother's courage is not as big as little junior brother's. Mu Xianqing pursed his lips and grumbled. Cough. Hearing this, Wu Chun and the others coughed dryly. He wouldn't die. But who knew what the side effects would be? Seeing that his senior sisters and senior brothers were still the same as before, Ning Tian couldn't help but smile at them. Going back to the past, the only pity was that he didn't meet his senior brothers and senior sisters. Little junior brother. At this moment, Yi Shuang looked over, and her beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. How's the progress over there? Huh. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but frown. He looked at eldest senior sister with a pair of puzzled eyes. His brain was working rapidly at this moment. What's going on? What does eldest senior sister mean? Could it be eldest senior sister knows that I went back to the past? How's your progress with the space law? However, just when he was a little doubtful, Yi Shuang spoke again. She looked at Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiyao beside her, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Things like the space law are difficult to control. You must be careful and not let the two sisters-in-law worry about you again. Huh. Space law? My mastery of the space law is not bad at the moment. Ning Tian was stunned again, but he was relieved in his heart. It turned out that eldest senior sister was talking about the space law. Eldest senior sister, don't worry. I will be careful next time and won't let my wife and the others worry so much. Ning Tian chuckled and hugged the two women in his arms and said very seriously, never again. Hearing Ning Tian's words, the two women felt very relieved and let him hug them. Seeing this scene, there was a burst of sighs in the main hall. Wow, junior brother just came back and stuffed a mouthful of dog food into my mouth. Why did I affect your public display of affection? Pei Hu looked at the three of them with great heartache. Hee, 7th senior brother, you should be the one who has been single the longest among us, right? Even 8th senior brother is much better than you. At the side, Mu Xuanqing's eyes were filled with slyness as he looked at Pei Hu teasingly. Pei Hu's old face darkened. How can this be considered? That kid Yi Wuyo is a playboy. He's not good at all. Ha ha ha, at least he's half. Mu Xianqing laughed mercilessly. Ninth junior sister you? Inside the hall, a group of people revealed a smile when they saw this. After a while, junior brother, do you still remember that I told you to control the space law? Yi Shuang looked at Ning Tian and asked. Huh. Ning Tian raised an eyebrow and nodded in confusion. I remember. Senior sister said that you need my space law. May I know what it's for? Don't worry, I'll make up for it tomorrow. At least 5 chapters. You can see the votes on the public account, but you need to draw Luo Wuqing's illustration first. I already made an appointment yesterday, but the artist will only be able to draw the illustration in a month. Currently, the artists are by Liu, Su Yueyao, and Luo Wuqing. Chapter 624. Well, you'll find out soon enough. Yi Shuang kept him in suspense. She then looked at the group and realized that one of them was missing. She frowned and asked, where's 8th junior brother? 8th senior brother? Oh, he and Sha Tian wanted to come in just now, but before they could finish speaking, they flew away. They're probably still flying now. Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and said slowly, Yi Shuang, the rest of the people in the heavenly palace, eldest senior sister, it seems like you forgot to lift the curse on 8th junior brother, Pei Hu said quietly, praying for poor Yi Wuyo for a second. Forget it. You guys take little junior brother first. I'll go and bring 8th junior brother back. Yi Shuang sighed and looked at Wenqing and the others. Yes, eldest senior sister. Wenqing and the others nodded and then looked at Ning Tian and the others. Little junior brother, come with us. Okay. Ning Tian responded and followed them with the 2 girls. The group went to the deepest part of the frozen ice sacred hall. Yi Shuang was the only one in the hall. Looking at the backs of the group, she couldn't help but frown and murmur, this is incredible. Everything reminded her of the figure that had appeared in the heavenly palace 2 years ago, shrouded in black. It's still the same. Nothing has changed. Yi Shuang murmured and shook her head. She then stepped into the void and prepared to bring Yi Wuyo back. In the depths of the frozen ice sacred hall, there was an endless staircase that led to the deepest part. Ning Tian and the others walked down the stairs step by step. Little junior brother, why aren't you curious about why we have to go down the stairs step by step? Under normal circumstances, wouldn't we want to fly? Why do we have to go down step by step? Seeing Ning Tian walking calmly, Mu Xianqing couldn't help but look over curiously. It's simple. Ning Tian chuckled, still holding the 2 women's hands. He glanced at the steps under his feet and said, every step contains the power of space. Only by stepping on it can the power of space be activated. If you don't step on a single step, I'm afraid that even if you reach the end of the steps, it won't be of any use. Haha. 9th junior sister, it seems that little junior brother is much smarter than you in this matter. You should know that you didn't pay attention to the stairs at that time and flew out with a single step. TSK, you were directly trapped in the space. By the side, Pei Hu finally found a chance to retaliate and couldn't help but tease. Senior brother. Junior brother still has 2 sisters-in-law here. Mu Xuanqing's face flushed red as she hurriedly told Pei Hu to shut up. Haha. Pei Hu laughed. On the side, Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing, and Su Yueyao also watched with a smile. The atmosphere was harmonious with a hint of warmth, as if at this moment, everyone seemed to have forgotten that there was destined to be a battle between them. Let's continue. Honey, follow me closely, Ning Tian said as he tightly held the 2 women's soft hands and walked step by step to the bottom of the stairs. 10 minutes later, when everyone stepped on the last step, the surrounding darkness rippled like water. The space seemed to have changed at this moment as an invisible force enveloped them. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding space began to change. Honey, hold on to me tightly. Ning Tian frowned and a trace of seriousness flashed in his eyes. Okay. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao both nodded with a serious expression. They each held one of Ning Tian's hands and quietly circulated their spirit energy. Boom. Boom boom. The surrounding space flickered rapidly, and the scene kept changing. Finally, a huge ancient bronze door appeared in the darkness before everyone's eyes. The ancient bronze door emitted a green halo that enveloped the group. Little junior brother, come with us. When Qing chuckled and walked toward the ancient bronze door with her pipa in her arms. When the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace walked over, Pei Hu placed his fists on the ancient bronze door and pushed it open. Boom, boom, boom. As the ancient bronze door was pushed open, the surrounding space changed again. The world spun as if they had come to another world. The world was blood red and yellow sand was everywhere. Ning Tian and the rest appeared here. The surroundings were extremely hot, as if there was an invisible fire burning around. The surrounding spirit energy was extremely scarce, as if there was a pressure of heaven and earth. This is, looking at the surrounding scene and the yellow sand. Ning Tian frowned and looked at Wen Qing and the rest in confusion. The land of blood-stained yellow sand, or the first sealed land. Wen Qing said softly, the land of blood-stained yellow sand? The sealed land? Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing, and Su Yueyao all looked over in confusion. Speaking of the sealed land, Ning Tian vaguely felt that this place was somewhat similar to the sealed land of the Big Dipper domain a million years ago, especially this yellow sand. But, yet, senior sister Wen Qing said this was the first sealed ground. Could it be there are more sealed grounds like this? Moreover, since it was a sealed land, what was sealed inside? Most importantly, even a million years ago, when he and Qin Luo used the heaven and earth cauldron to seal the item, he did not know what was sealed inside. Most importantly, the time energy had been fully charged before he could ask. He did not even have the chance to ask. Could there be a certain connection between the two? Or could it be the two were actually the same kind? Husband? Just as Ning Tian was frowning, Luo Wuqing, who was standing beside him, seemed to have noticed his uneasiness. She could not help but hold his hand. Although her beautiful eyes were cold, there was a trace of worry in them as she looked over. I'm fine. Ning Tian gave her a comforting smile. No matter what, no matter how complicated these mysteries were, they would be solved eventually. Husband, look at the sky. At this time, Su Yueyao's voice sounded from the side. Ning Tian was taken aback. He and Luo Wuqing looked in the direction Su Yueyao said. This is, when they saw the sky, both of them were stunned. They saw, in the blood-red sky, there was a strange red array that was so huge that it covered the entire sky. It was slowly operating, as if it was sealing the whole world here. This pattern, looking at the strange pattern on the array, Ning Tian frowned. He seemed to find it familiar. Little junior brother, this is the formation used to seal this space. When Qing raised her beautiful eyes, looking at the sky, and said softly, and her next words made Ning Tian even more surprised. Chapter 625. This array has been going on for 1,000,000 years. 1,000,000 years? This array is a bit old. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao were a bit surprised. 1,000,000 years was a very long time even for cultivators. However, at the side, Ning Tian's heart was in turmoil. What the hell, what the hell? This thing, could it be the one he and Qin Luo made 1,000,000 years ago? Damn, maybe 1,000,000 years had passed. But, to him, it felt like only 10 days had passed. He had just stepped out of the array formation, and now he was back? At this moment, Ning Tian's expression was very strange. In short, this is a sealed place related to the dark turmoil. On the side, second senior brother Wu Chan said indifferently. A cold light flashed in his sword-like eyes, as sharp as a sword. Dark turmoil. Ning Tian frowned. Haha, don't think too much. When senior sister comes, she will naturally tell you. Pei Hu patted Ning Tian's shoulder and laughed. This is the first time you know about this. It's normal for you to be surprised. Maybe, Ning Tian murmured. Boom. At this moment, the sky changed again. 2 people and a lion slowly walked over. Yi Wuyo and the Lion King's ears seemed to be a lot redder. It looked like Yi Shuang was holding their ears and pressing them over. These 2 guys, I didn't pay attention, and they made the heaven region full of potholes again. Yi Shuang glared at Yi Wuyo and the Lion King. Cough. Senior sister, don't worry. I promise that Sha Tian and I will fill up those potholes. Yi Wuyo coughed and rubbed his red ears while promising. Roar. The Lion King also nodded in agreement. If you don't fill it up, then we will eat lion meat hot pot. On the side, Yi Wuyo said again. Roar. Roar. The flame-sealing Lion King was still nodding when it heard about the lion meat hot pot. It immediately reacted and looked at Yi Wuyo with horror and disappointment. 2 years. Was the friendship of 2 years gone just like that? Eighth senior brother, don't bully Shatin. How can he eat lion meat hot pot? At this moment, Ning Tian shook his head at Yi Wuyo. Roar. Hearing this, the ceiling flame Lion King's eyes were brimming with tears as it raised the wooden sign of I love ancestor. To be precise, it now has the Taodai bloodline, so it should be the Taodai hot pot. Ning Tian said in a serious tone. He didn't want to eat lion meat hot pot. He just wanted to help the ceiling flame Lion King reveal its identity. Ceiling flame Lion King, therefore, love will disappear, right? Senior sister, this place is... Ning Tian ignored the crying little lion and looked at Yi Shuang with a solemn expression. Little junior brother, junior sister, and the others should have told you that this is a sealed land related to the dark turmoil. Yi Shuang's pair of cold eyes landed on Ning Tian as she said slowly, Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly with a bright light in his eyes. Looking at the blood-stained yellow sand, he said indifferently, So, senior sister, about this sealed land, how many more are there in the mysterious sky world? 4. Yi Shuang said slowly. There are actually 4? Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Ning Tian couldn't help but feel a little surprised. She looked at the vast expanse of yellow sand. It was easy to imagine how vast this space was. It was even the size of 3 fire domains. Such a vast space was only used to seal things related to the dark chaos. Moreover, there were 3 more such seals. Even the 2 girls at the side were a little surprised. With such a huge amount of spiritual qi, what exactly is the dark turmoil? Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes looked at the sky. She couldn't help but feel curious, especially after what Ning Tian had said before. Her father was related to the dark turmoil. This made her even more curious about the dark turmoil. Sister-in-law, this formation doesn't just rely on the spiritual qi of the entire space to operate. At the side, when Qing gently said, every ceiling formation has a guardian. Guardian? Ning Tian and the other 2 were stunned. There was no need to say more. The guardian of this array must be the 9 primes of the heavenly palace. But what about the other 3? Senior sister, what are the other 3 sealed lands? Ning Tian looked at Yi Shuang and asked. Little junior brother, actually you have already touched 2 of the 3 sealed lands. Hee, you don't know yet, right? Mu Xianqing looked at Ning Tian with a playful face and said with a smile. Ning Tian. What the hell? Why don't I know? My husband has touched 2 of the 3 sealed lands? Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiyao also frowned and were a little curious. You talk too much. Yi Shuang rolled her eyes at Mu Xianqing. Mu Xianqing scratched his head. One of them is the Furious Waves Deep Sea, Yi Shuang said slowly. The Furious Waves Deep Sea? Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. After a while, a light flashed in his eyes and he immediately blurted out, one of the 9 territories, the endless sea of the firmament territory. Endless sea? Could that bastard be the guardian of the seal? Sui Weiyao also thought of something and said, Sister-in-law, are you talking about the nether black tortoise? Yi Shuang chuckled, shook her head, and said indifferently, even in its heyday, the nether black tortoise only has the strength of a supreme ancient god. It is not qualified to be the guardian of the seal. Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing, and Sui Weiyao. Why did it feel like a supreme ancient god? Was nothing in front of eldest senior sister? Is the nether black tortoise part of the seal? Ning Tian asked tentatively. No, the nether black tortoise is a lock. Yi Shuang corrected Ning Tian. A lock? Ning Tian frowned. When the nether black tortoise swam, he could hear the heavy sound of chains dragging. It seemed that the chains were not only used to imprison the nether black tortoise, but also related to the seal. But isn't the nether black tortoise controlled by the people of the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection? Ning Tian was a little puzzled. In that case, does it mean that the seal of the Furious Waves Deep Sea is controlled by the people of the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection? Oh, junior brother, you even know about this? Yi Shuang frowned slightly. Yes, old Dao told me. Ning Tian nodded slightly. Back then, Reincarnation Dao God said that the nether black tortoise was used by the almighties of the God realm to strengthen the entire firmament territory. These almighties were the people of the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection. It seemed that the purpose of the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection was far more than that. Chapter 626. Dao God Reincarnation? What a pity. If the demon tribe of the ancient god Cloud Atlas had not attacked the precept domain back then and forced Reincarnation Dao God into reincarnation, his current achievements would have been far greater. Yishuang shook her head, and there was a tinge of regret in her tone. Every reincarnation didn't mean that one's strength would increase. Although reincarnation gave you another chance to start over, it wouldn't give you a chance to increase your strength. It's a pity, but now that the precept domain is back on track, I believe that Old Man Dao will return to his peak. Ning Tian chuckled and immediately asked, Senior Sister, is the seal of the Raging Waves Deep Sea controlled by the guys in the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection? Yes. Yi Shuang nodded. These guys won't trip us up? Hearing Yi Shuang's affirmation, Ning Tian and the other two looked a little serious. It wasn't the first time they had fought with the guys in the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection, from the ancient road to godhood to the 10,000 spirits demon lair. Ha ha ha. Junior brother, don't worry, this won't happen. At the side, Peihu laughed. Those guys aren't that crazy to attack the seal. After all, they don't want to die. What's their goal? Ning Tian frowned. Their goal is the dark turmoil. To be precise, they're activating the dark turmoil behind the scenes. But how can this kind of power be obtained so easily? It's been millions of years, and they still have the same goal, but they've never succeeded. When Qing shook her head and said softly, activating the power of darkness and chaos, these guys are really ambitious. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and sighed. Millions of years have passed, and the scale of the Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection's development is getting bigger and bigger. Basically, every top force has integrated with the power of these guys. These guys are really annoying. They only know how to avoid our sky palace. Mu Xianqing pursed his lips. I wanted to catch one and test my medicine. Hearing about the medicine, Wu Chen and the others silently took a step back. Then where is the other sealed place that I came into contact with? After understanding one of them, Ning Tian looked at Yi Shuang again and asked, The land of divine fall tribulation. Yi Shuang said indifferently, Ning Tian frowned. He didn't seem to have any impression of this. In the 9 domains, the heavenly spirit domain. At this moment, Luo Wuqing, who had been silent at the side, opened her red lips and said, Heavenly spirit region? Ning Tian was stunned. Oh, so it's here. Sui Weiyao was reminded by Luo Wuqing. Her pair of beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. It seems that my husband really lifted the seal twice. Hee, is this the chosen one? Ning Tian. Therefore, am I the only one who doesn't know? I'm the ignorant one? Husband, the place that senior sister is talking about is the heaven's spirit domain's fallen gods' land. Luo Wuqing reminded Ning Tian. Land of the fallen gods? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He finally remembered. Wasn't the Buddha Demon Pagoda obtained from the land of the fallen gods? And the Buddha Demon Pagoda happened to be related to the dark turmoil. It turned out that it was there. No wonder I felt that the heavenly spirit domain was so small. How could it become a domain? It turns out that there is a seal. With a seal, there is a reason for it to become a domain. Ning Tian's eyes were glowing. With such a huge seal, the Almighty in the God domain would naturally make the heavenly spirit domain exist forever. The guardian of the raging waves deep sea is the ancient God Cloud Atlas. What about the land of divine fall tribulation? The 9 domains, there were also almighty existences? Well, Yi Shuang was silent. The eyes of the other people in the heavenly palace fell on Luo Wuqing. My wife? Ning Tian frowned. No. Could it be my wife's father? Qin Luo? Hearing this, Luo Wuqing was also stunned. Yes, sister-in-law, it's your father. Yi Shuang looked at Luo Wuqing and slowly said, your father chose to be the guardian of the land of divine fall tribulation. First, it was to replace the old guardian. Second, it was to protect you. Luo Wuqing's heart trembled, and he was speechless. It turned out that her father had been silently protecting her in his own way. On the side, Sui Weiyao hugged her in her arms and gently patted her back. Ning Tian frowned and couldn't help but ask, a replacement for the guardian who is aged. In that case, Qin, oh no, my father-in-law has only been here for a few hundred years? After all, Luo Wuqing had seen Qin Luo when he was young, and Luo Wuqing had only been in the 9 domains for 100 years. Yi Shuang nodded. This, Ning Tian frowned. If this was the case, then Qin Luo must have seen him when he went to the land of divine fall tribulation. At this time, Qin Luo definitely knew him. After all, he didn't go to the past to change the future, but to promote the right future. Then, why didn't Qin Luo show himself? No. Suddenly, Ning Tian realized something. When he was fighting with 2 demon experts in the land of divine fall tribulation, there was a sudden pressure that swept over the 2 demon experts. At first, he thought it was the pressure of the heavenly Tao, but now that he thought about it carefully, it wasn't. Because when the 2 demon experts stepped into the land of divine fall tribulation, the pressure of the heavenly Tao had already shrouded them. They were already under the pressure of the heavenly Tao, and it didn't wait for them to attack. So it seemed that pressure wasn't the pressure of the heavenly Tao. It was Qin Luo secretly attacked. Hiss, it seems that Qin Luo might have understood something at that time. A glint flashed across Ning Tian's eyes. His father-in-law had understood many things over the course of 1,000,000 years. I see. Then, is my father-in-law still in the heavenly spirit domain? Ning Tian looked at Yi Shuang and asked. Yes. Yi Shuang nodded. Ning Tian touched Luo Wuqing's head and said softly, wife, after we've settled the matter here, let's go back to the heavenly spirit domain. You can reunite with your father and bring the Tianma cult of the 9 regions back to the God domain. Okay. Luo Wuqing nodded. At this moment, she had shed the cold outer layer and was lying in Su Yueyao's arms obediently. The current empress was just a daughter who missed her father. Of the 4 great seals, 2 are in the 9 regions, 1 is in the God domain, and the last one is in the God domain. Ning Tian said slowly. The 9 regions and the God domain belong to the profound sky world. The places where the seals were located were balanced. Yi Shuang's beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian, and a light flashed in her eyes as she said slowly, yes, the last one is in the land of endless frost. I don't need to say more, junior brother should know where it is, right? Chapter 627. The Land of Endless Frost, the guardian of the southern frost starry sea. Is it the ice goddess? Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Ning Tian smiled bitterly. There was no need for Yi Shuang to say anything more. Yi Shuang did not deny it. Senior sister, what exactly is the dark turmoil? Ning Tian raised his head and looked at the blood-red sky and the enormous formation. He could not help but sigh deeply. It's darkness. It's devouring. It's also a kind of deprivation. Junior brother, do you see what's outside the seal in the sky? Yi Shuang sighed and looked at the sky. The expressions of Wen Qing and the others in the surroundings were also somewhat unsightly. There was a kind of helplessness on their faces. Outside the seal? Ning Tian was stunned. The 3 of them looked at the blood-red sky. They circulated their spirit energy and looked carefully. What's that? When they saw that there were some strange humanoid creatures outside the seal that were constantly attacking the seal, the 3 of them could not help but be stunned. Those are void beasts. Yi Shuang said slowly. Chapter 603. Appearing once, void beasts? Beasts whose bodies have been sucked dry? Ning Tian probed. The 9 sovereigns of the heavenly palace. Junior brother, This void is not the void that has been sucked dry. The corners of Wenqing's mouth rose into a helpless smile. She shook her head and looked at those void beasts. A trace of pity appeared in her beautiful eyes. Those are transformed from people who have been devoured by the dark turmoil. Amen? Ning Tian and the others looked at her with puzzled gazes. The dark turmoil, once devoured by the dark turmoil, all life will be turned into nothingness. Not only that, the entire existence of those devoured will be erased. For example, if your loved ones are swallowed by the dark turmoil, then your loved ones will disappear from your mind. It will be as if your loved ones never existed in your world. The most lamentable thing is not death, but the living have forgotten that you once existed. Put yourself in their shoes and think about it. If your sister-in-law and the others were swallowed by the darkness, even if you were still alive, you wouldn't know that they once lived in your world. The saddest thing isn't that they died, but that they even died in your memories. To you, they never existed. Maybe we once had someone very important to us who was swallowed by the darkness, but we didn't know anything. Wenqing said in a gentle tone. Third senior sister's tone was very gentle. However, what she said was the most terrifying thing. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Tian and the two women broke out in a cold sweat. Ning Tian didn't even dare to think about the feeling of forgetting the love of his life. If that was really the case, then it would be too sad. Even the right to remember important people was taken away from him. As for the things that are devoured, they will be called void by the side. Yishuang added, besides, this is only one of the things we know. Perhaps the dark turmoil will affect something else, but in short, we must not let the dark turmoil descend again. Ning Tian nodded heavily. A trace of solemnity flashed across his eyes. Yishuang said again, in the dark turmoil, there were 3 things. If we have these 3 things, perhaps there is a slight chance that the dark turmoil will erupt again. A slight chance? Those 3 things? Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. 1 tower, 1 heart, and 1 person, Yishuang said word by word. Hearing this, Ning Tian was completely stunned. 1 tower, 1 heart, 1 person. He seemed to have understood something about the first 2. The so-called 1 tower and 1 heart. Could it be the Buddha Demon Tower and the hearts of the 3 clans? These 2 had a great relationship with the dark turmoil. Ning Tian was only guessing. He couldn't be sure. However, if he knew that these 2 things were what the ancient God Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection was looking for, he would definitely be able to confirm it on the spot. After all, the ancient God Cloud Atlas of Heaven and Earth collection's goal was to activate the power of the dark turmoil. Coincidentally, the 2 things that were supposed to be in his hands ended up in Ning Tian's hands. 1,000,000 years of hard work was gone in an instant. However, who was this person? Ning Tian frowned. All right, junior brother. At this time, Yishuang's voice sounded again. Wenqing and the others had already rushed to the blood-red sky where the seal was. We need your power to pull the heaven and earth cauldron that was originally suppressing this place back into the seal. It is indeed the heaven and earth cauldron. Ning Tian's eyes flashed. It seemed that this was the deepest part of the Big Dipper domain. The space stairs in the Sky Palace were a shortcut to the Big Dipper domain. Where is the heaven and earth cauldron? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Above us. Yishuang pointed to the sky. Above this space in the Big Dipper domain was the Big Dipper Tower? Ning Tian suddenly came to a realization. Yes, the heaven and earth cauldron is a super-divine artifact. It was born in accordance with all things, and everything can change. After 1,000,000 years, the heaven and earth cauldron has also changed over the years and became the Big Dipper Tower today. Yishuang explained. Then, she flew toward the sky. Junior brother, follow me. Wife, you and Sha Tian stay here. It's my turn to perform. Ning Tian smiled at the 2 women. After that, he followed Yishuang toward the seal in the sky. Husband, be careful. The 2 women waited below. In the blood-red sky, 10 figures walked in the air. Junior brother, after we stabilize this seal, you use the law of space to pull the Big Dipper Tower down and let it suppress this formation again. Yishuang looked at Ning Tian with a serious face and said slowly, "Okay, I understand." Ning Tian nodded slightly with a serious look. Haha, junior brother, don't worry. Although you're not strong now, we'll lend you our divine power. When the time comes, it won't be too difficult to pull the Big Dipper Tower. Peihu laughed. Then, I'll have to trouble you. Ning Tian breathed a sigh of relief. With his current strength, it was indeed difficult to pull the heaven and earth cauldron that had turned into the Big Dipper Tower. Haha, junior brother, take it. The 9 primes of the heavenly palace nodded. A faint layer of light appeared on their bodies. That was the initial power of the divine body. Under their guidance, the faint layer of light gathered toward Ning Tian. Junior brother, if you can't withstand our divine power, just tell us. When Qing reminded him, I will. Senior brother, senior sister, don't worry. Ning Tian grinned and gestured for them not to worry. Since you said so, I won't hold back. Yi Wuyo chuckled. Then, his body shone with golden light. His divine power erupted and charged toward Ning Tian. Humph! Ning Tian snorted. Damn it! This 8th senior brother is actually serious. Chapter 628. At this moment, after absorbing Yi Wuyo's divine energy, Ning Tian's aura soared. He almost couldn't hold on any longer. He couldn't help but suspect that his 8th senior brother was messing with him. 8th junior brother, why did you release so much of it all at once? Little junior brother is only at the heavenly god realm. In the sky, when Qing's reproachful voice rang out. Hee, isn't it because little junior brother told me to come boldly? So I came boldly. 3rd senior sister, I feel wronged. Yi Wuyo scratched his head and laughed mischievously. Little junior brother, are you all right? When Qing rolled her eyes at Yi Wuyo. Then, she looked at Ning Tian with a trace of worry. 3rd senior sister, I'm fine. Ning Tian took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Then, he grinned at the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace and said, all of you, just be bold and come at me. I can withstand it. This kid is a real man. Ha ha ha, then I won't hold back. Peihu laughed loudly. Then, his body shone with golden light as well. He released his divine energy and swept it toward Ning Tian. Seeing this, Mu Xianqing and the others also began to use their divine energy. Little junior brother, if you can't withstand it, don't force yourself. After when Qing warned, she also began to display the heavenly god's power. However, when the divine energy of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace enveloped Ning Tian, it was as if Ning Tian was enveloped in golden light. His strength also rose rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he broke through to the ancient god realm. Of course, this was only a temporary absorption of the divine energy. When the divine energy of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace dissipated, he would naturally return to his original state. Little junior brother is actually able to absorb so much divine energy? This is the divine energy of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace. This kid has absorbed more than 60% of it? This is unbelievable. This kid, does he really have the heavenly god body? Why do I feel that our heavenly god body is so much weaker than this kid's? When they saw Ning Tian's entire body shrouded in golden light and exuding a rich divine power, the 9 masters of the heavenly palace couldn't help but sigh. Their eyes flashed with astonishment. Below, the 2 women were also looking on worriedly. Although Ning Tian possessed the heavenly god physique, he possessed the unique heavenly god physique. You have shocked the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace. Reward: 1 ancient god supreme experience card. At this very moment, Ning Tian, whose entire body was enveloped by the power of the heavenly god, heard the system's voice in his mind. However, Ning Tian just quietly put away the experience card and ignored it. Right now, he was bearing the brunt of the power of the 9 sovereigns of the heavenly palace. Who, after a while, the golden light on Ning Tian's body disappeared into his body. There were cracks on the surface of his skin, and a little bit of blood flowed out from the cracks. He had reached his limit. Good lad. You actually managed to absorb more than 70% of it. Peihu sighed. If little junior brother has the same strength as us, I'm afraid we won't be able to last more than 1,000 moves, or even 100 moves. Wu Chun was a little moved. He sighed and said, "It can't be, right? This lad's strength is so ridiculous." Pei Hu was in disbelief. "Have you forgotten that we suppressed our cultivation to the same level as little junior brother in the heavenly palace and exchanged moves with him? You lost to little junior brother in 10 moves, and you still have the nerve to say that?" Wu Chen looked at him indifferently. Cough, cough. Pei Hu's old face turned red. Yi Shuang's gaze fell on Ning Tian and asked in a deep voice, "Junior brother, are you all right?" Senior sister, don't worry. I'm fine." Ning Tian gritted his teeth and silently endured the power of the heavenly god in his body. Even if blood seeped out from the surface of his skin, he was indifferent. The seal was very important, and he could not treat it lightly. "Then, let's begin," Yi Shuang said slowly. "Okay, let's begin." The others in the heavenly palace nodded. They could only end it quickly so that little junior brother would not have to endure such pain. This kind of thing should be done by them, but unfortunately, Ning Tian was the only one who had mastered the law of space. Who? Ning Tian heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the sky. Since he had personally sealed the heaven and earth cauldron here 1,000,000 years ago, he could do the same today. At this moment, the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace exerted their power. The extreme power of the ancient god realm erupted and stabilized the entire seal in the sky. In the blood-red sky, more and more void beasts outside the seal began to attack the seal. They wanted to escape. However, how could the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace let them succeed? Boom, boom. The seal in the sky shone brightly at this moment. "Little junior brother, do it," Yi Shuang shouted. "Okay." Ning Tian grunted heavily. Then, his eyes turned red. Golden light erupted from his body, and blood flowed out of his body continuously. There was a powerful force suppressed in his body, and it seemed like it would explode out of his body at any moment. Husband, seeing this scene, the 2 women below felt their hearts being squeezed, and their hearts ached. "Giant spatial hand, pull for me," Ning Tian shouted. The heavenly god power shrouded the area, and the temporarily obtained supreme ancient god power also erupted at this moment. Ning Tian continued to operate the spatial energy. The enormous power turned into 2 invisible giant hands that broke through this layer of space, tore the Big Dipper's secret realm, and grabbed the entire Big Dipper Tower. Boom, boom. The entire Big Dipper Tower began to tremble. Yellow sand flowed into this space. The Big Dipper Tower, which was supposed to be stable, began to shake a little at this moment. At this moment, the power that contained the heavenly way flowed out from the Big Dipper secret realm. The heavenly way's power is here. This is the heavenly way's power that the heaven and earth cauldron has accumulated for 1,000,000 years. Little junior brother, you must be careful. Feeling the power, the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace changed their expressions and quickly reminded him. Even the heavenly way's power that the heaven and earth cauldron had accumulated for 1,000,000 years was not to be underestimated. "Don't worry. I'm not afraid of the heavenly way's power," Ning Tian shouted. His entire body was covered in blood. The golden light of the heavenly god power shone on his blood, and it also shone on him. Divine thought. Heaven and earth cauldron, come down. Boom. In an instant, it was as if the Big Dipper Tower was being restrained by an invisible force. Under the pull of the invisible giant spatial hand, it fell straight down. Just like 1,000,000 years ago, it was falling toward the sealed land. Boom, boom, boom. Under everyone's gaze, the Big Dipper Tower was accompanied by a cloud of yellow sand as it descended. Along the way, it directly took away a wave of void beasts that wanted to break through the seal, after which it passed through the seal and heavily smashed into the blood-stained yellow sand. Boom! A cloud of yellow sand fell. Everyone looked over. They saw that the Big Dipper Tower had changed its appearance. That was the heaven and earth cauldron. Little junior brother actually succeeded. Seeing this scene, the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace were moved. They did not expect everything to go so smoothly. Fortunately, I didn't fail you. In the sky, Ning Tian, who was covered in blood, grinned. The heavenly god power of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace flowed out of his body. A sense of weakness enveloped him from head to toe. His vision turned black, and he fell toward the ground. Ning Buxu was really weak this time. Husband, the word count should be back to normal tomorrow. So, can I ask for banknotes now? Ha ha ha. In the future, the update time will be announced on the public account. You don't have to keep waiting. Public account, Gujiang. Chapter 629. In the sky, the huge and strange ceiling formation was still operating slowly. The power of the 9 masters of the heavenly palace on Ning Tian's body had completely dissipated. What followed was a huge sense of weakness. His vision turned black and his body fell directly to the ground. Oh no, junior brother is going to fall to his death. Seeing this scene, Peihu's expression changed. He moved to catch Ning Tian, but before he could do anything, Mu Xianqing pulled him back. Ninth junior sister, what are you doing? Do you want junior brother to fall to his death? Mu Xianqing rolled her eyes at him and said snappily, 7th senior brother, junior brother has 2 sisters-in-law to take care of him. You're just a candle. Why are you joining in the fun? Serves you right for being single. Peihu scratched his head. Husband. At this moment, 2 beautiful figures with their own fragrances rushed toward the fallen Ning Tian. When Ning Tian was about to completely lose consciousness, he suddenly felt a soft touch on his body. Husband, are you okay? Luo Wuqing held Ning Tian in her arms and carefully leaned his head against her chest. A trace of worry flashed through her beautiful eyes. Sui Weiyao looked on nervously. Even her 9 foxtails were a little puffed up. Although she didn't know how Ning Tian's injuries were, but he was already covered in blood. Just looking at him made her worried. Hee, wife? I'm not dead. Ning Tian leaned against the soft touch and grinned at Luo Wuqing. However, before he could finish his words, his vision turned black. Husband? Seeing this scene, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao's expressions changed instantly. Their beautiful eyes were filled with worry, and their pretty faces were pale with fright. What's going on? Why did he disappear while they were talking? Sisters-in-law, don't worry. Junior brother just fainted from overexertion. He won't die. By the side, Mu Xianqing hurriedly looked over. After observing Ning Tian's situation, she smiled at the 2 girls, indicating that they didn't need to worry too much. Not only could she refine good pills, she also had magical medical skills. Hearing this, the 2 women could finally put down the huge stone hanging in their hearts. They patted their plump chests and heaved a sigh of relief. As long as little junior brother eats my newly refined pills, I guarantee that nothing will happen to him. Mu Xianqing took out a black and swarthy pill and patted his slightly barren chest as he promised. The rest of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace. 9th junior sister, isn't it a little inappropriate for you to promote your newly refined medicinal pills while little junior brother is injured? Peihu pursed his lips and said quietly, little junior brother has no grudge against you. You don't have to harm him. Hearing this, the 2 women silently hugged Ning Tian and took a step back. Of course not. I guarantee that the pills I've refined will not have any side effects. Even if there was, it would only be a little. Really, just a little bit. Sister-in-law, don't be afraid, little junior brother is strong. He won't die even if he eats it. Mu Xianqing shook the pill in his hand, but it seemed that because his movements were too big, the cork of the jade bottle jumped out, and the black pill fell down. Bang! Below, the ceiling flame Lion King was still in a daze. Suddenly, it felt something hit its head. It was stunned for a moment. Then, it looked forward and saw a black and swarthy pill rolling past it. Roar? Damn it! A small pill dares to bully your Master Lion? Master Lion will bite you to death. Oh well. Following that, under the gaze of several people in the sky, the ceiling flame Lion King bit the pill to death. Look, nothing happened to Shatian after eating it. Mu Xianqing patted his chest proudly. Gulp. Gulp, gulp. What's that sound? Mu Xianqing raised her eyebrows. He saw, below, the ceiling flame Lion King was foaming at the mouth, and its body was already submerged in the white foam. Cough. Sensing everyone's strange gazes, Mu Xianqing coughed dryly and blushed. With a serious expression, she quibbled. You see, the side effect is to let Sha Tian take a bath in the white foam. Everyone. The two girls were also relieved. Fortunately, they didn't let their husband eat it. Although ninth senior sister Mu Xuanqing's medical skills were brilliant, she was wholeheartedly researching poisons. In other words, I can treat illnesses, but I can't treat illnesses. Her treatment method is to directly let you die, without the pain of illness. Ninth senior sister is such a good person. Hurry up and give Sha Tian the antidote. Yi Shuang glared at Mu Xianqing. Oh, Mu Xianqing pouted, feeling wronged. She was still a little unwilling. Next time, she must refine a pill that doesn't foam for Sha Tian to eat. After instructing Mu Xianqing, Yi Shuang looked at the two girls and said, Sister-in-law, let little junior brother recuperate in the heavenly palace for a few days. With his recovery ability, this injury won't affect him much. Okay. Luo Wuqing nodded slightly and carefully hugged Ning Tian. There was a trace of heartache in her cold eyes. It's a pity that Master isn't here. Otherwise, he could have taken a look at little junior brother. At the side, Peihu sighed. There's no need to rush this matter. Yishuang shook her head and then looked at Wenqing and the others. In short, you guys take little junior brother back first? Okay. Wenqing and the others nodded and then took the two girls away from this blood-stained yellow sand. Once everyone left, Yishuang was the only one left in the empty space. Boom! Outside the seal, there were still many terrifying void beasts charging into this space. But when these void beasts charged over, the heaven and earth cauldron that stood tall in the yellow sand emitted a burst of green light. Wherever the green light shrouded, the void beasts turned into black shadows and dissipated. The moment the black shadows dissipated, a scream filled with unwillingness, grief, and anger rang out. It was the scream of a void beast. At the same time, it was also a scream filled with emotions. When the scream stopped, the blood-stained yellow sand seemed to have returned to tranquility. The sky was blood-red and the huge and strange formation was still operating. Seeing this scene, Yishuang sank into silence for a long time. This is truly inconceivable. After a long time, she looked at the heaven and earth cauldron and could not help but sigh. Even the heavenly palace's eldest senior sister sighed. So, the dark turmoil is actually so terrifying. This pain, have I experienced it before? Forgetting everything, is that still the same as before? Sigh. Yishuang sighed deeply and slowly turned around. The moment she turned around, all the emotions on her beautiful face were hidden and returned to calmness. From the beginning to the end, she was the heavenly palace's eldest senior sister. She shouldered a responsibility that she could not let go of. Truly, a good move. Chapter 630. A few days have passed. Heavenly Palace. In the room, Ning Tian was lying on the bed. His body was covered in a green glow. That was the power of the law of life. It was repairing his body, but he showed no signs of waking up. Husband. On the side, Luo Wuqing was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at him. The cold empress showed a rare hint of worry. Creak. At this time, the door creaked and was slowly pushed open. He saw Su Yueyao carrying a bucket of spring water that contained extremely rich spiritual energy. She walked in with graceful steps and said, Wuqing, the celestial spring water is here. Let's wash our husband. Okay. Luo Wuqing got up and helped Su Yueyao. The two women took off Ning Tianjiang's clothes with great familiarity. The two women were already used to seeing the foul-smelling black substance seeping out of his skin under the green light. According to Mu Xianqing, the law of life was not only helping Ning Tian heal his injuries, but also forcing out some sludge. Although he was injured, it was a blessing in disguise. Haha, I didn't expect the Empress to wipe a man's body. If it was a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. Sui Weiao looked at Luo Wuqing teasingly while wiping Ning Tian's body. Isn't the Saint Master of Jade Lake the same as me? Luo Wuqing rolled his eyes at Sui Weiao, not to be outdone. No, no. There's still a big difference between us. For example, Sui Weiao covered her mouth and smiled. A seductive glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. She glanced at the naked Ning Tian, and under Luo Wuqing's bashful gaze, she reached out her hand and grabbed at a certain spot. I dare to do this, but you don't. Sui Weiao smiled proudly. You. Luo Wuqing blushed and stared at this perverted woman helplessly. Haha, Sui Weiao covered her mouth and chuckled. Her bell-like laughter continued to ring out. Inside the room, the two women were playing around while wiping Ning Tian's body. After learning that Ning Tian was fine and had even profited from his misfortune, the two women's hearts, which had been hanging in the air for the past few days, finally relaxed. For a moment, it was a beautiful scene. It was a pity. A certain fellow lying on the bed, however, did not have the fortune to see it. 10 minutes later, Luo Wuqing gently helped Ning Tian put on his clothes and then covered him with a blanket. She looked like a good wife and loving mother. Oh no, she didn't have a loving mother because Ning Tian was too weak and couldn't get pregnant. We really love this guy. By the side, Sui Weiao sighed faintly. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing didn't say anything. Wasn't she the same? Wuqing, what should we do if the Dark Rebellion is really here? Sui Weiao looked at Ning Tian on the bed and gently stroked his face. After a moment of silence, she murmured, I don't know. Luo Wuqing shook her head slightly, but her eyes fell on Ning Tian with unusual determination. But I only know that even if I die, I won't forget my husband. Well, we do want to go together, Yizichen said. Sui Weiao chuckled. At this moment, the two women's eyes fell on Ning Tian. We have to become stronger. When the Dark Rebellion is really here, we will also have the strength to protect our husband. In the room, the two women murmured softly. Their voices were calm but unshakable. Southern Frost Star Sea, Heavenly Ice Region. What? A loud shout came from the depths of Heavenly Ice City. Suddenly, the faces of all the people in Heavenly Ice City changed drastically. This is the roar of General Heavenly Ice. General Heavenly Ice fought all the way here with Lord Ice God. Who could make this expert so angry? How dare he provoke General Heavenly Ice? Doesn't he know that provoking Heavenly Ice is equivalent to provoking Lord Ice God? He's courting death. It seems that something big is going to happen in the Southern Frost Star Sea. Soon, the sounds of discussion continued in Heavenly Ice City. At this moment, in the most heavily guarded area of Heavenly Ice City, in a grand hall, an old man wearing ice armor looked down at his subordinate, who came to report the urgent news with an incredulous expression. His face was a little ugly. Vaguely, killing intent was boiling in his eyes. What did you say? This old man's most valued grandson is dead? General Heavenly Ice. I didn't lie at all. The subordinate who was kneeling on one knee was trembling because of extreme fear. It's actually true. General Heavenly Ice's turbid eyes flashed with grief. He slumped on the high seat in the hall. His aura emerged. It was a deeply hidden killing intent. Who killed this old man's grandson? I want to see the replay of General Heavenly Ice's death. General Heavenly Ice forcefully suppressed his grief. A pair of blue eyes filled with killing intent fell on the subordinate as he questioned. Yes, however. General Heavenly Ice, please be mentally prepared. That subordinate swallowed his saliva and cautiously reminded him. Mentally prepared? Don't tell me. This old man is afraid. This old man and Lord Ice God have fought for so many years. Even the other old men can't compare to this old man. Why would this old man be afraid? General Heavenly Ice harumphed coldly. Yes, that subordinate nodded. Then, he took out a piece of blue crystal made of silver antimony. This was the mother stone of the Icy Death Stone. Every person who came out of the Heavenly Ice family would be given a piece of the Icy Death Stone. This stone was bound to life. If one was alive, the stone would exist. If one was dead, the stone would shatter. Among them, It would record the moment when the bearer died. Then, General Heavenly Ice, start the replay. That subordinate said. Then, his body moved. Spirit energy flowed into the blue crystal. Stone of Death. Replay. Boom. Spirit energy surged. In an instant, tens of thousands of images popped out. General Heavenly Ice was dumbfounded. He was stunned on the spot. What's going on? Why are there tens of thousands of images of death? This icy death stone must be broken. Otherwise, this old man's grandson wouldn't have died tens of thousands of times? Humph. General Heavenly Ice harumphed coldly. He thought this was a joke. However, in fact, young Master Heavenly Ice had really died tens of thousands of times. Although young Master Heavenly Ice didn't know every time he died, the icy death stone had recorded everything in real time and transmitted it to the Mother Stone. Every time he was resurrected, the stone would be restored as well. After all, the two were bound to life. If a person died, the stone would shatter. If a person lived, the stone would be complete. General Heavenly Ice, still want to play? The subordinate asked weakly. Humph, play. This old man doesn't believe that he really died tens of thousands of times. General Heavenly Ice harumphed coldly. Chapter 631. Dozens of minutes later, General Heavenly Ice slumped down on the high seat with a thud. His face was as ugly as if he had just eaten feces. Only now did he realize that it was a joke. However, he was the one who was laughing at himself. Over 10,000 times. No, to be precise, it was 50,000 times. This person killed my grandson 50,000 times. General Heavenly Ice gritted his teeth. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He punched the high seat heavily. Boom. General Heavenly Ice was indeed powerful. He smashed the ice chair he was sitting on with one punch. Then, he sat on the ground. Puffed. Seeing this scene, the subordinate tried to hold back his laughter. What's wrong? Is it very funny? General Heavenly Ice stood up from the ground. His eyes were sinister, and his face was extremely ugly. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked at the subordinate who was kneeling on one knee. General Heavenly Ice, you misunderstood. I have undergone professional training. No matter how funny it is, I will not, the subordinate quickly explained, die. However, General Heavenly Ice would not listen to his explanation. He punched. At that moment, the subordinate's body was frozen. When the punch hit him, his body turned into slag along with the ice. At the moment of death, the subordinate could not help but curse. Damn, he was too careless. If he had known that he would die, he would have laughed out loud. In the hall, General Heavenly Ice was the only one left. He was watching the replay of young Master Heavenly Ice's death. Even he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine when he saw that kind of killing method. This brat's method is so cruel, General Heavenly Ice murmured with a glint in his eyes. However, how dare you kill my most valued grandson? You are simply courting death. He muttered to himself as he looked at the black-clothed young man who was holding the blazing sword. His eyes were filled with killing intent. It seems, I can only delay the task that they gave me. Fortunately, Lord Ice God should still be in seclusion. Otherwise, there are some things that I can't do. Southern Frost Starry Sea. Land of extreme frost. This place was frozen in ice, and within the ice, one could vaguely see some buildings that had been frozen in ice. These buildings all had traces of the long river of time, and they had long been dilapidated. This place was once the Heavenly Fish Dynasty. In the deepest part of the land of extreme cold, cold air permeated the air, and any creature that set foot in this place would be frozen in less than a second. One could vaguely see a petite figure sitting cross-legged in this place of origin of cold air. Her entire body was covered in frost, and wisps of cold air were circulating around her body. Beside her, there was a small ice blade. After an unknown period of time, her long eyelashes seemed to flutter as the life force in her body slowly recovered. She slowly opened her eyes, which were still as clear as 1,000,000 years ago. She looked at the ice blade at the side and stroked it gently. Master, for 1,000,000 years I did it. A few days later, in the heaven domain of the Big Dipper star region, Heavenly Palace. In the room. No. With a cry of alarm, Ning Tian, who was lying on the bed in a coma, suddenly sat up from the bed. Strands of cold sweat flowed down from his forehead. In the past few days, he seemed to be having an endless dream. It was pitch black in the dream, and there was only an endless road. He could only walk and walk, but he could not see any light. But, just now, on the endless road, he finally saw a trace of light, and in the light was a back that was very similar to his. But, just as he was about to investigate, he woke up from this endless dream. Although he was awake, he was more worried about his gains and losses. Husband. At this moment, the voices of the two women rang in his ears. Only then did Ning Tian gradually wake up. Seeing the two women holding a wet cloth to wipe their bodies, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He scratched his head and asked, "Honey, what are you doing?" "Husband, you're awake." Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao's beautiful eyes were misty, but they were full of surprise. Strange. Why do I feel so cold? And it stinks? Ning Tian nodded, but his expression was a little strange. As he spoke, he looked down. F***, a fierce man exclaimed. Only then did he realize that not only was he naked, but there was also some black and smelly sludge. "Husband, this is sludge." At the side, Luo Wuqing gently explained to Ning Tian, while holding a wet cloth to wipe Ning Tian's body clean. "Come, lie down and don't move. Let Yueyao and I help you clean." Sludge. I didn't expect to profit from a disaster. Hearing his wife's explanation, Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. Then, she grabbed the two women's hands. "I think that wiping like this is too slow. It'll tire my wife out easily. So, let's go to the void ship and bathe in the spiritual energy hot spring." The two women, ? Luo Wuqing rolled her eyes. "Then why don't you go by yourself?" Ning Tian. "I don't have hands, so I can't bathe." Luo Wuqing. ? Bah, shameless. Su Yueyao spat. "Oh, I haven't seen you for a few days, little wife. You're very naughty." Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and looked over. "Naughty? So what?" Before Su Yueyao could finish, she felt her tail being clawed by someone. Without any warning, her pretty face instantly turned red. She rolled her eyes at Ning Tian coquettishly and said, "My tail is dirty because of you. If it's dirty, then all the more reason to take a bath." Ning Tian said with a straight face, "Shameless. Hee, I'm going to take a bath. My wife is coming too." Huh. A normal ancestral master's cultivation time passed. The heavenly palace had been rebuilt in the past few days. In the main hall, the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace were all there. Tisk, tisk. Young people have good stamina. Mu Xianqing glanced at the 3 people walking out of the void and couldn't help but click her tongue. She didn't want to know, but after all, she was an alchemist. Her nose was very sensitive, so she could smell it immediately. Hearing this, the 3 of them were stunned. The 2 women's faces turned even redder. Only Ning Tian, the old fox, just coughed dryly and pretended that nothing had happened. "Little junior brother, how's your recovery?" When Qing looked over and asked. "It's okay. I even asked my wife and the others to cultivate for a while. They each broke through 1 star." Ning Tian chuckled. The cultivation he was talking about was the most serious kind of cultivation. Otherwise, how could he have broken through? "Is that so? Then what are your plans next, little junior brother?" Yishuang looked at Ning Tian and asked. "It's time for the 3rd watch. Bai Lu's sketch is out. I think we'll be able to see it soon. Everyone, look forward to it. The illustrations for the 2 girls are also being released. The maid outfits will only be released after these 2 are out. Wait patiently." Chapter 632. Plans. Hearing Yishuang's words, Ning Tian frowned slightly. After pondering for a while, he slowly said, "Prepare to go to the Southern Frost Star Ocean." "Oh, Southern Frost Star Ocean?" In the main hall, The 9 supremes of the heavenly palace all had different reactions when they heard this. Little junior brother, are you planning to touch all 4 seals? When Qing frowned slightly, there was a hint of seriousness in her beautiful eyes. She reminded, junior brother, even if you have the heavenly god constitution, you have to be careful. That seal won't let anyone visit as they wish. TSK. You mean that ice goddess? At the side, Yi Wuyo's body trembled. He seemed to have thought of something, and his face immediately darkened. Seeing Yi Wuyo's expression, Mu Xianqing giggled and leaned over. Hee, 8th senior brother. You seem to have recalled some unbearable past. Why don't you tell me and make me happy? Cough, it's nothing. Yi Wuyo pursed his lips. Haha, that incident? I know. 8th junior brother made a trip to the southern frost star ocean and seduced a woman under the ice god. After that, he was chased away by the ice god, and more than half of the southern frost star ocean blacklisted him. Peihu laughed loudly. Yi Wuyo's face turned red. Ha, so there will be a day when 8th senior brother is chased away by someone. At the side, Mu Xianqing laughed mercilessly. Yi Wuyo flew into a rage out of humiliation. At that time, she was just a little girl. I just didn't want to fight with her. Hee, I'm afraid you can't beat her, right? Mu Xianqing had always been good at stabbing people in the heart. Yi Wuyo's face quickly darkened. He pursed his lips. At that time, I had just started cultivating. If it was now, I definitely wouldn't be afraid of her. No. At this moment, in the main hall, Yi Shuang looked directly at Yi Wuyo and said indifferently, even now, you are not a match for the ice goddess. There is still a gap between you and her. Cough. Eldest senior sister, at least leave me some face. Yi Wuyo dryly coughed. Even 8th senior brother is no match for Ling. Hearing this, Ning Tian felt as if a storm had been set off in his heart. He could not help but be extremely surprised. He did not expect that this girl's strength could reach such a level. In that case, the difference between his master and his disciple was too great. However, instead of being surprised, he felt more gratified in his heart. Ling, that girl. He should have done what he wanted to do. She's been cultivating for a longer time than you, and her ice goddess body isn't weak either. What's there to be embarrassed about? Yi Shuang rolled her eyes at Yi Wuyo. However, why do I keep having the feeling that although the law of ice that the ice goddess controls is slightly different from mine, there's a trace of familiarity in its essence? At this point, Yi Shuang's cold eyes inadvertently glanced at Ning Tian. Cough. Ning Tian coughed dryly. How could the essence be different? Ling's law of ice was taught by him, but his law of ice was taught by Yi Shuang. Well, eldest senior sister, tell me about the current situation of the southern frost star ocean. Ning Tian changed the topic. The current situation of the southern frost star ocean. A faint light flashed in Yi Shuang's eyes, and then she said indifferently, the current southern frost star ocean is no longer the same as it was 1,000,000 years ago. It's more complete than any other domain. The other 3 domains have large and small forces, and the southern frost star ocean is only divided into 2 forces. 2 forces? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and asked, which 2? The Undying Sea and the Ice Goddess Palace. Yi Shuang said indifferently, The Undying Sea and the Ice Goddess Palace? Hearing this, Ning Tian could not help but be stunned. He had some impression of the Undying Sea. After all, when he returned to the past using the law of space, he fell into the Undying Sea. He did not expect that the Undying Sea had such a strong force. As for the Ice Goddess Palace, it should be created by Ling Em. The Undying Sea is extremely mysterious, and they do things in a low-key manner. Other than when the Ice Goddess wanted to rule the entire southern frost star ocean, they are usually silent. As for the Ice Goddess Palace, Yi Shuang's eyes fell on Ning Tian as she said indifferently. Other than the Ice Goddess, there is the Ice Division under the Ice Goddess Palace. The Imperial Ice is the weapon under the Ice Goddess's command, and is responsible for helping the Ice Goddess rule half of the southern frost star ocean. The Heavenly Ice is the offensive weapon, the Ice Shield is the defensive weapon, and the Ice Surge is the strategic weapon. Orderly arrangement, not bad. Hearing this, Ning Tian could not help but sigh. It seemed that Ling had completely mastered the 100 ways to properly use a tool that he had taught her. This is the 4 Ice Division under the Ice Goddess. Junior brother, you killed the young Master Tian Bing of the Heavenly Ice family when you came back, right? You need to be careful when you go to the Southern Frost Star Ocean this time. Yi Shuang said. Don't worry. I know what to do. Ning Tian nodded. He still had the Ancient God Experience card in his hands. If the Heavenly Ice family wanted to court death, he did not mind sending them on their way. However, he still hoped that the Heavenly Ice family had some self-awareness. After all, the Heavenly Ice family was related to Ling, and he did not want his disciples' efforts to go to waste. Tomorrow's update, the plot is stuck. Chapter 633. Yes, it's a good thing to know when to stop. Yi Shuang nodded slightly and looked at Ning Tian. Since things have come to this, junior brother, you should go. These few days, it seems to be a lively day in the Ice God Palace. If you go now, you might be able to join in the fun. A lively day in the Heavenly God Palace? The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up. Then I naturally have to hurry over. Who knows, there might be a fated opportunity waiting for me. Junior brother, when you go there, you and your siblings have to be careful. Wen Qing reminded him softly. Junior brother, if the Ice God dares to bully you, tell me. 8th senior brother, I'll definitely take revenge for you. Yi Wuyo patted his chest and said with a solemn expression, Hee, 8th senior brother, you can't beat her. At the side, Mu Xianqing covered her mouth and chuckled. Her eyes were full of ridicule. Yi Wuyo blushed and coughed dryly. Cough, then. Let eldest senior sister fight. Bully me? Ning Tian froze for a moment and smiled playfully. If this disciple bullied his master, wouldn't it be bad? Haha. I'm looking forward to the Southern Frost Starry Sea. Ning Tian stretched and looked at the 2 women with a smile. Honey, let's go? Yes. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao nodded. They were worried about Ning Tian going to the Southern Frost Starry Sea alone. Roar, roar. Outside the hall, the fire-sealing Lion King, who was forbidden from entering the hall by Yi Shuang, saw that Ning Tian and the others were about to leave and hurriedly let out a heart-wrenching roar. As for why this guy was forbidden from entering, it was entirely because of the dismantle formula. Sha Tian, you want to go too? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and looked over. Roar. Lion language. Old driver, bring me along. Instantly, Sha Tian nodded crazily like a chick pecking at rice. He glanced at Mu Xianqing in the hall, but when he glanced over, he happened to see Mu Xianqing smiling at him. He was so scared that he trembled. It didn't want to eat those little pills anymore. In the past few days, it had already experienced growing bigger, shrinking smaller, spitting out white foam, spitting out a lot of white foam, spitting out a lot of white foam. In the words of the flame-sealing Lion King, Master Lion would rather not have a lioness than to take a bite of 9th senior sister's pill. All right, come with us. Ning Tian thought for a while and nodded. Now that Sha Tian had the bloodline of the Taodai, Tun Tun might be able to play a role as a tool lion. Senior brothers and sisters, then, let's set off. Ning Tian turned and bowed slightly to the 9 supremes of the Heavenly Palace. Okay, go ahead. Yi Shuang nodded. Wen Qing and the rest smiled as they watched Ning Tian's group leave. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He seemed to have thought of something. How long could this warm situation last? When would the heavenly god body's final battle be? He remained silent, then turned around and tore open space, throwing the void ship inside. Honey, let's go. Target. Southern Frost Starry Sea. In the blink of an eye, several days later. Southern Frost Starry Sea. Boom. There was a roar. Then a hole seemed to have been torn open in the sky. A huge, pitch-black battleship slowly emerged from the void. On the bow of the ship, a lion wearing a straw hat was proudly piloting the battleship. Even being a tool lion was better than swallowing 9th senior sister's little pills. It seems there doesn't seem to be any changes here, but The temperature seems to have dropped. Ning Tian leaned on the railing of the deck and looked down. There was an ocean below, and the water had a strange change, exuding a familiar energy. If he was not mistaken, this was the Undying Sea. It was also the place where he landed when he first came to the Southern Frost Starry Sea. "Hubby, have you been here before?" Beside him, the two women were leaning on him. When they heard Ning Tian's muttering, Luo Wuqing raised her eyebrows and asked, "I've been here before." Ning Tian tilted his head and looked at Luo Wuqing with a smile. Then he slowly said, "I saw your father robbing a tomb in that sea." Luo Wuqing. Hee. Wuqing, if you want to punish him, I can help you catch him. On the side, Sui Weiyao didn't mind watching the show. She patted her full chest and volunteered. "Catch him." Luo Wuqing gritted her teeth. Then, when Sui Weiyao used her body to lock Ning Tian, she used the cruel but gentle Luo clan punishment on him. "You're the tomb robber. Don't say my father is a tomb robber." "But he really is a tomb robber." "I'm not listening." Dozens of minutes later, Ning Tian finally broke free from the long Luo clan punishment. They were now far away from the Undying Sea and were about to reach the Ice God Palace, the Ice God City. The Ice God Palace is in front. It's the Southern Frost Starry Sea, the territory of Lord Ice God. Fellow Taoists from afar, please come down from the sky and enter the Ice God City on foot. Otherwise, it will be seen as disrespectful to the Ice God. The Ice God Palace has the right to kill those who disrespect Lord Ice God. Just as the Void Ship was about to enter the Ice God City, a loud shout sounded. Then, several figures in ice armor appeared in front of the Void Ship. Hearing this, the cultivators flying in the sky all gave up and returned to the ground. Offending the Ice God in the Southern Frost Starry Sea and disrespecting the Ice God was no doubt an act of suicide. Roar? The Lion King turned around and looked at Ning Tian, asking for his opinion. Disrespect to the Ice God? Ning Tian chuckled. Looking at the group of Ice God Palace guards in ice armor, he smiled faintly and waved his hand at Sha Tian. "Sha Tian, listen to him." Roar. The flame-sealing Lion King nodded and controlled the Void Ship to descend. In this part of the sky, all the cultivators chose to enter the Ice God City on foot. This was a form of respect for the Ice God. "Thank you for your cooperation." The leading Ice God Palace guard put away the ice spear in his hand and nodded at the group of cultivators. Then, he led the group of guards away. "Ling, that lass, well done." Seeing this scene, Ning Tian showed a gratified smile. This wasn't Ling deliberately putting on airs. It was the respect she deserved as the Ice God who ruled half of the Southern Frost Starry Sea. These guards of the Ice God Palace weren't as arrogant as the guards of ordinary factions. They weren't using the Ice God Palace to intimidate others. Instead, they were seriously fulfilling their duties. "This girl gives me quite a lot of surprises." Ning Tian chuckled and put away the Void Ship. Then, he led the two women and a tool lion into the Ice God City. Chapter 634. Inside the Ice God City, Ning Tian's group walked in. The city was already packed with people. The current Ice God City was not like the heavenly fish imperial city of 1,000,000 years ago. Under the rule of the Ice God, the human cultivators and the sea demons could live in harmony. The human slaves 1,000,000 years ago no longer existed. It seems that Ling has finally done what she wanted to do. Along the way, seeing the prosperity and harmony of the Ice God City, Ning Tian had a gratified smile on his face. Seeing Ling's achievements today, as her master, he was even happier for her. "Hubby, what's wrong?" At this moment, Sui Weiyao quietly leaned over. Ning Tian looked at her, puzzled. "Ever since we entered the Ice God City, you've been smiling like an old father. It's disgusting." Hee. Could it be that there's an illegitimate daughter here that Wuqing and I don't know about?" Sui Weiyao whispered into Ning Tian's ear. Ning Tian paused and then coughed. He did not have an illegitimate daughter, but he secretly took in a disciple. However, that last Ling did indeed look like his daughter. But after 1,000,000 years, Ling had probably grown into a great beauty. What are you talking about? It seems that little wife is itching for a beating and needs to be taught a lesson. After pondering for a while, Ning Tian rolled his eyes at Su Yueyao. Hee, that's right. Su Yueyao giggled and whispered into his ear. You still need to be taught a lesson with a stick. Ning Tian. Question mark. This little wife was too good at seducing people. If it weren't for the inconvenience now, he really wanted to take Su Yueyao on the spot, teach her what a husband's discipline was. However, after saying this, Su Yueyao held Luo Wuqing's hand and hid beside him. She smiled at Ning Tian, causing Luo Wuqing to cast a puzzled look. What were these two doing? Let's walk further into the city, Ning Tian said to the two women. In his heart, he had already silently remembered the desire aroused by his second wife. Tonight, he would make her pay back with interest. As for the interest, it was naturally his first wife.
Yes.
Luo Wuqing nodded slightly, not knowing the seriousness of the matter. The group walked into the city for a while. The deeper they went into the Ice God City, the more cultivators there were in the city. The security was also tighter. Ning Tian was not in a hurry to find Ling. After all, Ling was now the Ice God. It was not that easy to see her. He couldn't possibly go around shouting that he was Ling's master, could he? That would be too much of a fool. As long as they were fated, they would be able to meet him. Husband, look. In the Ice God City, Luo Wuqing seemed to have seen something. She couldn't help but frown as she spoke to Ning Tian. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he looked in the direction that Luo Wuqing was pointing at. The moment he saw that thing, he was shocked and exclaimed, F***. They saw. In front of them, there was an ice sculpture that was at least a few hundred meters tall, standing in the center of the Ice God City. The ice sculpture was vivid and lifelike. Every detail was on point. At first glance, they could tell that it was the work of the Ice God. However, this was not what surprised them the most. What surprised them the most was the appearance of the ice sculpture. It was obvious that it was a man. Why is it that the more I look at this ice sculpture, the more it looks like my husband? Su Yueyao looked at Ning Tian while sizing up the 100-meter-tall ice sculpture in the Ice God City. Although the ice sculpture could not completely carve the face on it, the two women were very familiar with Ning Tian. With just a glance, they could tell that the original form of this ice sculpture was their husband. The two could not be said to be exactly the same, but there was a 90% resemblance. Husband, could it be that you are very familiar with the Ice God? Luo Wuqing's tone was slightly cold. She narrowed her eyes and looked over. Looking at her expression, Ning Tian knew that the Luo family's vinegar jar must have been overturned. Cough about that. Ning Tian coughed dryly. Why did he feel like he was caught in the act? But the problem was that he had nothing to do with Ling. It was just a very serious relationship between master and disciple. It was very serious. All right. This? The two women looked over. Each of them had a hand on Ning Tian's waist. It's over. It's over. Feeling the two soft hands on his waist, Ning Tian broke out in cold sweat. If this was not handled well, his backyard would be on fire. Roar, roar. At the side, the flame-sealing Lion King took out the melon seeds and iced radish juice and silently watched the show. Cough. Ning Tian's old face darkened. He coughed dryly. He did not expect that Ling would carve an ice sculpture for him. Moreover, it looked so similar. At this point, he could only confess. Wife, good wife, calm down. Actually, but just as Ning Tian was about to tell them that the Ice God was actually his disciple, a strange voice sounded behind him. Him? Is he very similar to this ice sculpture? Stop joking. All right. Hearing this, the two women immediately put down their hands that were pinching Ning Tian's waist. Their aura turned cold. They turned around and looked coldly at the person who spoke. They could talk about Ning Tian, but it did not mean that others had the right to talk about him. Roar, roar. Seeing this scene, the flame-sealing Lion King became even more excited. The husband-protecting demon had begun. He could watch a good show again. Ning Tian also touched his old waist and turned around. He wanted to see the guy who sacrificed himself to save him in this situation. However, when he turned around and looked at the person, oh no, the fish, he almost vomited. Damn it. It turned out to be a fat head fish. It was a familiar fish head and a familiar human body. However, the fish head was yellow and the human body was fat. Ugh, the memory left in his mind was suddenly awakened. Ning Tian almost vomited. Seeing this fat head fish brother, he thought of the fish head sister who was wet all over and wanted to discuss life with him. Damn it, the DNA moved. That fish head sister really disgusted the ancestor. Husband, what's wrong with you? Luo Wuqing looked over. No, nothing, it's just that fat head fish brother. Can you turn around a little? I feel like vomiting when I see you. Ugh. Ning Tian waved his hand and said to the fat head fish. The fat head fish was dumbfounded. Then he snorted and looked at the ice sculpture in awe. You want to touch the person that Lord Ice God misses? I have seen too many people like you. Ice God. Miss someone? Ning Tian frowned and resisted the urge to vomit. He looked at the fat head fish and asked. This ice sculpture was carved by the Lord Ice God with an ice blade. Every cut contains the Lord Ice God's thoughts. The reason why this ice sculpture hasn't melted after 1,000,000 years isn't because of the Lord Ice God's strength, but his thoughts are strong enough. Chapter 635. The Ice God Palace has said that touching the ice sculpture is the same as declaring war against the Ice God Palace. You can imagine how important this ice sculpture is to Lord Ice God. And every time there's an Ice God Palace competition, there will be people who want to pretend to be the original ice sculpture. This is without a doubt seeking death. Let Grandpa you advise you. No matter how much you want to stand out in the competition and join the Ice God Palace, don't have any ideas about this ice sculpture. Fathead Fish's cold snort landed heavily. Oh, from what you're saying, you saved us. Hearing this, Ning Tian couldn't help but feel touched. He then looked at that fat head fish and said plainly, Of course. Fat head fish snorted and said coldly, If the Ice God Palace guards know that you dare to scam this ice sculpture, even 10 lives won't be enough to kill you. Oh, hearing this, Ning Tian wanted to laugh for some reason. Is this the legendary I'm scamming myself? Then, what do you want in return? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. Since this fathead fish said this, he must have his own motives. This, Grandpa you wants. Hearing Ning Tian's words, Fathead Carp revealed his intentions. His eyes flashed with an astringent luster. Then, he looked at the two women. Oh, that's not right. He should be looking at the Seal Flame Lion King drinking the juice squeezed from the iced carrot behind the two women. Grandpa you wants it. Why did you draw your sword? Fathead Fish pointed at the Lion King with a bitter expression. Who, hearing this, Ning Tian silently put away Scarlet Heaven Sword. He thought this fathead fish dared to have ideas about the two girls and was ready to chop him up. He didn't expect this guy to have ideas about the Lion King. Then it's fine. This guy isn't for sale. Ning Tian said plainly. No, no, no. Grandpa you doesn't want to buy it. Grandpa you is researching the true meaning of life. When humans and sea demons combine, there's a high probability that they will give birth to a fish tail and a human body, or a fish head and a human body. But what if it's a fish and a lion? Then, will there be a new species? Grandpa Yu's ambition is to start a new life. Grandpa Yu is determined to become a ichthyologist. Fathead Carp clenched his chubby fist, his fish eyes filled with seriousness. Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao, what a guy. This was a fathead fish with a dream. I'm really touched. Why don't you just accept it, Sha Tian? Ning Tian patted Sha Tian's shoulder and said seriously to the lion cub. Roar? The Sealing Flame Lion King's ice broadvine fell to the ground. Roar, roar. Master Lion was a male lion. Lion. It was emphasizing a sentence. Oh, I almost forgot. It's a male lion. Ning Tian shrugged and said regretfully, Your great life may end here. It's okay. Grandpa Fish doesn't mind either. Grandpa Fish can have dual sex. Fathead Carp looked indifferent. Roar? The ceiling flame Lion King was dumbfounded and then cursed loudly. Is there something wrong with your brain? Master Lion wants a lioness, not a sea creature like you who is neither male nor female. Master Lion, my star, you stinky star. Roar %yin #at. However, in fact, from everyone's perspective, it was cursing like this. A small lion cub kept howling at Fat Head Carp, looking very cute. What do you think, fellow Taoist? Fat Head Carp looked at Ning Tian seriously, holding Ning Tian's hand tightly. Its expression was very serious. For the sake of ichthyology, for the sake of restoring the glory of the fish clan, I will not shirk my duty. Ning Tian. He was not afraid of fish talking nonsense, but he was afraid of fish being cultured. Why don't you sacrifice yourself, Sha Tian? Ning Tian raised his brows. Roar. Roar. Lion language. I won't. Look, this lion also has its own thoughts. If you don't give me some benefits, it will be very difficult for me to do things for you. Ning Tian pulled out his hand and then looked very embarrassed. Seeing this expression, the two girls knew that their husband was about to start tricking people. Oh no, tricking fish. Then, fellow Taoist, what do you want to do? Fat Head Carp gritted its teeth and looked at the ceiling flame Lion King with longing eyes, making the ceiling flame Lion King tremble. I'm just here to watch the show. Why do you have to make things difficult for me? Life still made a move on me, a little kitten. Damn it, if I knew this, I wouldn't have followed you. At this moment, the ceiling flame Lion King suddenly felt that even if it ate ninth senior sister's pill, it was better than being disgusted by Fat Head Carp. Then tell me about the news of the Ice God Palace. Also, tell me what the Ice God Palace competition you were talking about is. Ning Tian looked at Fat Head Carp with a smile and said slowly. Seeing that Fat Head Carp seemed to know a lot, he could sacrifice the ceiling flame Lion King's looks to trick some information out of this fish. Although there were merchants selling information in the Ice God City, one piece of information was worth millions of spirit coins. Now, he only needed to sacrifice the ceiling flame Lion King to save millions, or even tens of millions. It was definitely a huge profit. Just like that, a world where only Sha Tian was injured was completed. This Grandpa Fish knows about this. Then let's talk as we walk. Also, can you stay away from me? The smell of seafood on you is too strong. My Scarlet Heaven Sword is a little out of control. Huh, just like that. Ning Tian talked to Fat Head Carp while getting all the information he knew. The two girls followed behind him. Along the way, the ceiling flame Lion King tried to escape several times, but Su Yueyao used the braised lion head as a warning and caught it back. This made the ceiling flame Lion King want to cry. There was no justice. Everyone was bullying the little lions. I see. No wonder the Ice God City is so lively. It turns out that those who pass the Ice Palace tournament have the qualifications to enter the inner palace of the Ice God Palace. After getting the information from Fat Head Carp, Ning Tian was enlightened. Not only that, if you perform well, you can even be accepted as a disciple by the Ice God. Fat Head Carp's eyes revealed a look of yearning. Accepted as a disciple? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. Yes, it's a pity that after so many years, there were countless young talents who stood out in the Ice Palace tournament, but none of them could become the Ice God's disciple. But there's nothing we can do. After all, the Ice God's standards are very high. Fat Head Carp shook his head slightly and sighed. I couldn't tell that you know so much about the Ice Palace tournament. Ning Tian glanced at Fat Head Carp. Of course. After all, Grandpa Fish has participated in the Ice Palace tournament more than 30 times. I already know the Ice Palace tournament like the back of my hand. Fat Head Carp snorted, his words full of pride. Chapter 636. Hearing this, Ning Tian and the other two were speechless. To be able to participate in the Ice Palace competition more than 30 times without success, this fat fish was also a fish talent. Beside an alley in Ice God City, the fat fish looked at Ning Tian and asked impatiently, Fellow Taoist, Grandpa Yu has said so much to you. Now, can you lend Grandpa Yu that little lion and create a new life together? Roar. Hearing this, the Lion King immediately hid behind the two girls. Well, damn. Ning Tian wanted to find an excuse to brush off the fat fish. Just as he spoke, he suddenly felt a small hand reaching out from the alley and pulling him into the alley. After a cry of surprise, in the alley, Ning Tian's figure was nowhere to be seen. Husband? Seeing this scene, the two girls' faces changed. The aura in their bodies suddenly emerged and they looked towards the alley. Oh my God, these two girls are actually in the heavenly god realm. The two girls' aura gave the fat fish a big scare. When the two girls looked into the alley, there was no one in the dark alley. The air seemed to have cooled down at this moment. Snowflakes fell from the sky and landed in the alley and quickly melted. At this moment, in an ice palace, Ning Tian appeared here without any warning. He frowned. At the highest point of the palace in front of him, there seemed to be a figure emerging. He looked over and his pupils suddenly shrank. As expected, it's you. Ice God City. Night quietly fell. You still haven't found husband? Luo Wuqing frowned. There was a trace of worry in her voice. No. At the side, Su Yueyao appeared from the void and shook her head. It had been almost half a day since Ning Tian disappeared from the alley. In this half a day, they had almost searched the entire Ice God City, but there was no sign of Ning Tian. The two girls frowned. Their expressions were solemn. Could it be that scene from 2 years ago was going to happen again? Phew, I'm back. Just as the two women were panting, a familiar voice rang out behind them. Ning Tian stepped out of the void, and the moment his voice rang out, the two women turned around almost at the same time and threw themselves into his arms. All right, I'm fine, aren't I? Ning Tian gave a wry smile and gently patted their backs. He naturally knew what the two women were worried about, but there was nothing he could do about it. Things happened so suddenly that he couldn't explain it in advance. That girl. At least give me some time to explain myself. Ning Tian sighed in his heart. Thinking about what had happened in the afternoon, he couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, his gaze turned serious. Those people had actually extended their hands to this place. Then, he could only play along and put on a good show. Hiss, suddenly. He sucked in a breath of cold air. He saw. The two women opened their small mouths, leaving a small bite mark on his shoulder. You guys are. Ning Tian gave a wry smile. Is this how you use your little mouth? Consider it your punishment for suddenly disappearing. Su Yueyao snorted. Husband, where did you go? Luo Wuqing raised her eyes, looked at him seriously and asked, Well, I want to see an old acquaintance, but as for who it is, please allow me to keep it a secret for now. Ning Tian smiled mysteriously, rubbing Luo Wuqing's hair. Some things can't be said. Hearing this, the two women were silent, but they were very obedient and didn't ask further. What about Fat Headfish? Ning Tian looked around. Sha Tian was still there, but Fat Headfish was long gone. Don't know, didn't care. Luo Wuqing shook her head. Her husband was missing, who had time to care about a fat headfish. Then let's find him tomorrow and let him lead the way. We'll also participate in the Ice Palace competition. Ning Tian said, his eyes shining. Originally, he didn't plan to participate, but now, for some unachievable goals, he had no choice. This little girl, she actually wants me to be a tool. He shook his head and sighed in his heart. Then, he hugged the two women and smiled. It's so late. Let's go back to the void ship to rest. It's late there. No one will disturb us. We can slowly communicate. The next day, in the sea of people in Ice God City. Phew. After exercising for an entire night, I'm indeed refreshed. Ning Tian stretched his body in satisfaction. He had finished all the exercises he needed to do. Next, he could do the real thing. However, this sentence caused the two women to roll their eyes. Then, let's go find Fat Headfish. As an old fox in the Ice Palace competition, he should know how to participate. Roar. At the side. Hearing the 3 words, Fat Headfish, the ceiling flame Lion King was so scared that its face turned pale, losing its color. It was because of that fat headfish. Last night, it dreamed of a group of lionfish surrounding it and calling it daddy. Let's go, Ning Tian said, not caring about the sealing flame lion king who had lost its color. He pulled the two women and walked towards the ice god city. Half an hour later, in front of an inn. Fellow Taoist, since you're looking for me, does that mean you agree? For the great fish studies. Grandpa Fish knew that you would definitely agree. Seeing Ning Tian and the group, Fathead Fish's eyes lit up. That pair of bitter eyes landed on the sealing flame lion king. No. Ning Tian shook his head slightly. The main reason I'm here today is to ask you to bring me to the Ice Palace competition. Ice Palace competition? Fathead Fish raised its eyebrows, pondered for a while, and nodded. All right, since you agree to Grandpa Fish's fish studies, I'll bring you along. But let me say this first, there are many experts. If you fail, you can't blame Grandpa Fish. That's not a problem. Ning Tian chuckled. Then come with Grandpa Fish. Fathead Fish turned around, not forgetting to give the Sealing Flame Lion King a coquettish look. Sealing Flame Lion King. Roaring grass. Grandpa Lion will die sooner or later. You stinky star. The Ice God City's plaza was already packed with people. These were all cultivators who were participating in the Ice Palace competition. I didn't expect. This Ice Palace competition is actually so easy to participate in. Ning Tian held the Ice Palace Grand Tournament's participation token in his hand and couldn't help but sigh. He originally thought that it would be very difficult to participate in the Ice Palace Grand Tournament. However, when Fathead Carp took out 100,000 spirit coins to purchase 2 tokens, he fell silent. This plaything could actually be bought with money. Ha ha ha. After all, the Ice Palace competition is also a way for the Ice Palace to earn money. At the side, Fathead Fish laughed, looking as if he had seen through it. In this case, it can attract some idiots to participate in the Ice Palace competition. The Ice Palace can also earn a lot of money. Hearing this, Ning Tian and the group looked at him with puzzled eyes. These words came from the mouth of an idiot who had participated in the competition more than 30 times. Why did it feel a little strange? There's one more update. Latest update before 2 a.m. You won't owe me anything. Chapter 637. I just don't know what the Ice Palace competition is about. On the side, Sui Weiyao looked curiously at the Ice God City Plaza in front of her. There were already many cultivators gathered there. Their gazes were all looking in the same direction with a trace of anticipation in their eyes. Do you see that ice sword? That's a space created by the Ice God. The Ice Palace competition is inside. Fathead Fish pointed at the center of the Ice God City Square, where a huge ice sword was stabbed into the ground. How mysterious! Su Yueyao's fox tail swayed, instantly attracting the gazes of many cultivators. However, before they could take a second look, a gaze filled with killing intent landed on them, scaring them so much that they hurriedly retracted their gazes. Seeing that this group of people had become obedient, Ning Tian silently retracted her kind gaze. Boom! Right at this moment, in the sky, a rumbling sound rang out, following which 4 figures appeared from the void. The moment they appeared, the entire Ice God City Plaza turned cold, as if even the air was about to freeze. They're here. They're here. Seeing this scene, many of the surrounding cultivators' eyes flashed with excitement. Damn it! The 4 old generals of the Ice God Palace's 4 ice divisions are really vigorous despite their age. How great would it be if Grandpa Fish could enter one of them? Fathead Fish's face turned red from excitement as he looked at the 4 figures in the sky. The Ice God Palaces, 4 ice divisions. Hearing Fathead Fish's words, Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and looked towards the sky. The sky was already filled with frost. 4 old men wearing ice armor stood in the void, their gazes cold as they looked at the plaza. A trace of ancient god aura was quietly released from their bodies. Just this aura alone was enough to make many cultivators unable to breathe. For supreme ancient gods, Ning Tian looked towards the sky and narrowed his eyes slightly. In that case, one of them was from the Heavenly Ice family. I hope that girl's judgment isn't wrong. Ning Tian muttered to himself as he looked at the 4 supreme ancient gods. At this moment, a gaze fell upon him from the heavens. For pairs of eyes met, and they were filled with killing intent. This person. Why does he look so familiar? In the sky, General Tianbing's eyes landed on Ning Tian's body. However, he quickly shifted his gaze away. Although it was only for a short second, there was still some doubt in his heart. Is that the Heavenly Ice General? Ning Tian retracted his gaze and immediately determined that the old man who had just looked at him was the Heavenly Ice General of the Heavenly Ice family. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A mere ancient god dares to have such thoughts. With Lord Ice God going into closed-door training, the only way to see the 4 ice divisions at the same time is probably at the Ice Palace's grand competition. AI. It's a pity that Lord Ice God went into seclusion after unifying half of the southern frost starry sea. This time, the Ice God's sword drawing should be carried out by General Sky Ice. I heard that young Master Sky Ice was killed in the Big Dipper region. Young Master Tianbing was killed? Who has the guts to kill young Master Tianbing? He's really courting death. In the surroundings, many cultivators revealed a look of disdain when they heard this. In their eyes, whoever dared to provoke the Heavenly Ice family was the same as provoking the Ice God Palace. This was undoubtedly an act of courting death. Boom, boom. At this moment, in the square, 5 seats made of ice slowly appeared at the front. The ice throne was at the center, and the other 4 seats were scattered to the left and right. The relationship between the two was obvious at a glance. The 4 ancient gods of the 4 ice divisions landed on the ice seats and slowly swept their gazes across everyone. At this moment, a huge ice crystal was erected in the center of the square. Fellow Taoist Ning, that is an ice crystal. Once we enter this ice melting trial space, this ice crystal will reflect the situation inside. Hee, isn't it amazing? This is also the method of the ice god. At the side, Fat Head Carp said proudly, as if it was his method. This method is not bad. Ning Tian stroked his chin. If he could persuade Ling to make a few hundred sets for him and sell them wholesale, he should be able to make a lot of money. Everyone, let's not waste any more time. I think you've all waited for a long time. Then, let the Ice God Palace competition officially begin. On one of the 4 ice seats, a gray-haired elder with an amiable face looked at the cultivators and said slowly. The elder looked amiable, but there was a wisp of wisdom in his eyes. He was one of the 4 ice divisions, Su Bing. Tianbing, according to the order, this time, you should be the one to pull out the ice sword. Elder Su Bing looked at General Tianbing and said slowly, General Heavenly Ice nodded faintly. A malicious glint flashed across his eyes. Soon after, his body moved. When he took a step forward, the surrounding space completely froze. He landed in the middle of the square, looked at the large ice sword, and extended his hand. But at this moment, the entire ice god city shook, and the temperature plummeted in an instant. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Sounds of ice forming could be heard from the surroundings. Wisps of cold air could be vaguely seen in the sky. The most terrifying thing was that the sky was starting to freeze. Above them was no longer the sky, but waves of cold air. Hiss! Everyone was enveloped by the cold light at this moment. They gasped, and their eyes were filled with fear. The 4 ancient gods of the 4 divisions had different reactions when they sensed the coldness in the air and the strange changes in their surroundings. However, they all had one thing in common, and that was, they knew who the intruder was. Ice God. It's Lord Ice God. I didn't expect to see Lord Ice God again after hundreds of thousands of years. Elder Su Bing's eyes flashed with excitement, and tears streamed down his face. Yes, it's been hundreds of thousands of years. The Imperial Ice Elder and Cutting Ice Elder couldn't help but sigh. I didn't expect Lord Ice God to come out of seclusion. I'm afraid this is not good. General Tianbing was different from the other 3. His expression was a little stiff, and cold sweat kept flowing down his face. Ha. I didn't expect to see Lord Ice God while I'm still alive. At the side, Fat Head Fish was overjoyed. Give me 20 million spirit coins, and I'll get you an autograph of the Ice God. How about that? Ning Tian glanced at Fathead Fish. Although this was the first time he had cheated his disciple, he was used to it after a few times. However, Fathead Fish did not believe him at all. If you can get an autograph of the ice god, I'll walk backwards in the future. Hearing that, Ning Tian spread his hands. At this moment, above the sky, a beautiful figure had already descended. Although it's a little late, at least you don't owe me anything. Chapter 638. Icy snowflakes drifted down from the sky as a white frost mist attacked. A beautiful figure quietly appeared above the square of the ice god city. At this moment, everything was silent as everyone's gaze fell on the slender figure. That was a girl in her teens. She was dressed in black and had a cold face. She was like a killer flower blooming in the ice. This girl still looks like this. The moment he saw Spirit, Ning Tian frowned and was a little surprised. He didn't expect that even after a million years, Ling's appearance didn't change at all. Other than her aura becoming colder, there was no other change. That is, suddenly Ning Tian's pupil shrank. Then, he smiled helplessly. This girl really cherishes this thing. He saw there was an ice blade hanging on Ling's waist. This ice blade had accompanied her for millions of years. It was also at this moment that the gazes of the two people in the sky and on the ground met. This was the first time their gazes met after a million years. Their gazes met for a million years. Their gazes met, and they quickly averted their gazes. Spirit was still as cold as ever. She glanced at Ning Tian indifferently and scanned the others around her. I didn't expect the ice god to be a girl. Su Yueyao raised her head slightly and watched Ling descend step by step from the sky. Curiosity flashed through her beautiful eyes. At this moment, many cultivators who had never seen the ice god before were also shocked. No one had expected. The famous ice god looked like a girl in her teens. So, this is what eldest senior sister meant by subtle. Ning Tian's gaze landed on Spirit, and he couldn't help but rub his nose. Previously, he had heard first senior sister mention that the legendary ice goddess was very mysterious. So, this mysterious referred to her figure and appearance. He didn't mind Ling's cold attitude at all, because everything was under control. On the other side, Luo Wuqing didn't say a word. She looked at Ling with her cold eyes. To be precise, she was looking at the ice snowflakes falling from the sky as Ling walked over. These ice snowflakes. I seem to have seen them in the alley yesterday. F***CK. Grandpa Fish. Grandpa Fish actually saw Lord Ice God, and it's even Lord Ice God's true body. Fathead Fish kept exclaiming in his heart. He was so excited that his fish head was trembling. Under everyone's gaze, Ling landed on the ground. When her bare feet touched the ground, the entire Ice God City Square was covered in a layer of ice. Hiss. I'm afraid that other than the great senior sister of the Heavenly Palace, no one else in the entire profound sky world can reach such a level. This is the ice god who unified half of the southern frost starry sea. Around them, seeing this, the group of cultivators sighed. Endless cold, so strong. By the side, Su Yue outside and wanted to wrap Ning Tian and Luo Wuqing with her 9 fluffy foxtails to keep them warm against the cold. But soon she realized something was wrong. It seemed that it was not as cold as she imagined. However, Fathead Fish was so cold that tears and snot were running down his face. Many cultivators' bodies were also beginning to freeze, and they were shivering. Hubby, Wuqing, did you use the law of heavenly fire? She looked at the two of them curiously. The two of them had mastered the law of heavenly fire, which was the most convenient way to resist the cold. Hearing this, the two of them shook their heads. By the side, Ning Tian revealed a faint smile. He did not use the law of heavenly fire, but he knew why. His disciple would not use ice to freeze him. Thinking about his privilege, he felt very good. Everyone else was suffering from the cold, but they were very warm here. Hiss. I'm freezing to death. Why are you not cold at all? Fathead Fish was shivering from the cold. Looking at how warm Ning Tian and the rest were, he looked at them enviously. Damn, They were only 1 meter apart. Why did the difference feel so big? General Heavenly Ice, this time, why don't you let me host the Ice Palace competition? Ling landed in the center of the square, in front of the ice sword, and asked General Heavenly Ice, Greetings, greetings, Lord Ice God. Not far away, on the ice chairs, Su Bing and the other 2 elders hurriedly stood up. Suppressing the excitement in their hearts, they bowed to Ling. Greetings, Lord Ice God. Since Lord Ice God has said so, this Heavenly Ice naturally does not dare to disobey. General Heavenly Ice's body trembled. Then, he bowed and retreated. Hearing this, Ling didn't say anything. Ling did not say another word. She placed her slender hand on the ice sword and gently flicked it. In an instant, the great sword that was taller than her was easily pulled out. At the same time, a cold light shrouded the surroundings, and the temperature plummeted once again. Spirit held the ice great sword that was taller than her with one hand and gently waved it forward. Boom, boom. At this moment, a cold light flashed. The space in front of them seemed to be split open. A large ice door appeared in front of them. Inside the ice door was the venue of the Ice Palace competition. Participants of the Ice Palace competition enter the ice trial space. Ling did not say anything unnecessary. She looked at everyone indifferently. And this group of people included Ning Tian. Hearing the ice god's order, the surrounding cultivators became cautious. The cultivators participating in the Ice Palace competition hurriedly walked towards the ice door. The atmosphere in the arena was very heavy. This was completely different from before. Previously, General Heavenly Ice was the one hosting this Ice Palace competition. But now, Lord Ice God was the one hosting it. Who would dare to breathe too loudly? Wife will go first. Ning Tian smiled at the 2 girls. Then, he walked towards the ice door. Beside him, Fathead Fish hurriedly followed. Fellow Taoist Ning, wait for Grandpa Fish. More and more cultivators entered the ice door. Ling stood guard beside the ice door. But no one dared to look at her. Fellow Taoist Ning, let's go in. Ning Tian and Fathead Fish arrived in front of the ice door. At this moment, Fathead Fish could not wait to enter. As a wily old fox, he had accumulated more than 30 failures. This time, he would definitely succeed. Don't worry. Follow Grandpa Fish. There won't be any problems. After all, it's been more than 30 times. Grandpa Fish has already figured it out. Ning Tian nodded slightly. He glanced at Ling. Without saying anything, he stepped into the ice door. In front of them, it was a piece of ice. All of the cultivators were gathered on a large ice platform, a total of several hundred people. At the same time, the ice crystal in the outside world started to light up as the scene of the ice trial appeared on it. 2 more updates. Chapter 639. At this moment, in the Ice God City Plaza, all the cultivators participating in the Ice Palace tournament had already stepped into the ice door. Ling also slowly turned around and landed on the ice throne that belonged to her alone. She waved her hand with an indifferent expression. Next, a cold light flashed across the huge ice crystal. Immediately after, the images of all the cultivators who had just entered the ice trial space appeared before everyone's eyes. It was an ice platform. Hundreds of people were waiting for the trial to begin. Husband, in the plaza, the 2 beautiful eyes looked at the ice crystal and landed on Ning Tian. There was a trace of anticipation in their eyes. The Ice Palace tournament begins. Sitting on her icy throne, Ling said faintly, boom. As her voice faded, a rumbling sound came from the ice door. Instantly, the gazes of everyone in the plaza were attracted. In the ice trial space, all the cultivators were on the ice platform, waiting for the start of the Ice Palace tournament. This time, Grandpa, you will definitely succeed. On the ice platform, Fathead Fish snorted coldly. His words were filled with confidence. On the side, Ning Tian only wanted it to end quickly. The benefit of this Ice Palace tournament was to join the Ice God Palace and be able to cultivate the martial arts within. The biggest benefit was to be accepted as a disciple by the Ice God. But he was the master of the Ice God. Why would he accept a disciple? Sigh. Ling, this stinky girl. We haven't seen each other for millions of years. Not to mention giving me a hug. She won't even let me quietly watch a good show. A tool to artificially possess a soul. Then I can only do my duty and cooperate with this little girl. Ning Tian sighed in his heart. Originally, he didn't plan to participate in this Ice Palace tournament. But due to the request of a certain little girl, he had no choice. Rumble. At this time, the ice platform began to shake. The trial of the Ice Palace tournament was about to come out. It is said that there is only one trial in the Ice Palace tournament each time, and every trial is extremely difficult. Grandpa Yu has already encountered more than 30 trials. Grandpa Yu doesn't believe that I won't be able to guess the same thing this time. Feeling the trembling of the ice platform, Fat Head Carp clenched his fist. Only one trial, huh? Could it be that this girl is using the 100 ways to toy with people in the palm of your hand as the trial for the Ice Palace's grand competition? Ning Tian's brows twitched as he muttered to himself. I didn't say much about teaching disciples. If you're interested, you can go on an excursion. Boom, boom. At this moment, the ice platform beneath everyone's feet kept trembling. Then, a small platform appeared with a red button on it. Everyone looked at the red button and looked at each other. What was this? What about the trial? Fathead Fish, go and press it. Ning Tian instigated Fathead Fish. No, Grandpa Fish doesn't have worldly desires. Grandpa Fish just wants to complete the trial. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. Although Grandpa Fish is a fish, it's the same principle. Fathead Fish said seriously. Go ahead. You can consider your request for Sha Tian. Ning Tian's voice rang out. Just you wait. Grandpa Fish will renounce worldly desires now. Hearing this, Fathead Fish's eyes lit up. Then, under everyone's gaze, it walked towards the red button. Bam! Next, it clapped its hands. There was no movement. It's nothing. As Fathead Fish spoke, it clapped a few times. Huh. This silly fish has clapped a few times. Nothing happened? Could it be that nothing happened? Looking at this scene, the surrounding hesitant cultivators were all stunned. At this moment, a few large ice words appeared in the sky, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Press multiple times to choose. Current difficulty, Hell level. Seeing this scene, there was silence on the ice platform. Then, everyone gritted their teeth and glared at Fathead Fish. If this silly fish hadn't been so greedy, it might not have ended up like this. Could it be played like this? It's indeed the 100 ways to toy with people in the palm of your hand. Seeing this, Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. This girl is too indecent. I wonder who taught her that. It's over. It's over. Grandpa Fish is in trouble. Fathead Fish was dumbfounded. Boom, boom. At this moment, the ice platform began to tremble again. Seeing this, the group of cultivators' faces turned solemn. Fathead Fish also rolled and crawled back to Ning Tian's side. On the ground, ice stood up one by one, forming an ice maze that enveloped everyone. A cold voice rang in everyone's ears. Ice God Maze. Pass through the maze and reach the platform. Eliminate your opponent and you'll win. Oh, maze? Hearing this, Ning Tian looked at the surrounding ice walls and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Although it was a maze, he focused on the last few words. Eliminate your opponent. In other words, the essence was to eliminate your opponent and you'll win. Isn't that? It's simple. At this moment, the group of cultivators who entered the Ice God Maze were stunned. What was this? Why was this completely different from before? Why did the Ice Palace's grand competition change after the Ice God took over? However, Ning Tian was the only one who knew why. Needless to say, it was actually Ling showing him, her master, that she had learned something. As for these cultivators, they were just background characters. Seeing that the surrounding cultivators had already started to move, Fathead Fish was a little confused. This was not right. It had never heard of the Ice Palace's grand competition being like this. It looked at Ning Tian with a confused expression. Fellow Taoist Ning, now what should we do? Do nothing. Ning Tian glanced at the cultivators who were still hesitating and shook his head with a smile. Do nothing? Fathead Fish was stunned, but it still stayed by Ning Tian's side obediently. At this moment, in the outside world, everyone in the Ice God City Square looked at this scene with confusion in their eyes. Even the guards of the Heaven Palace were dumbfounded. Why did this Heaven Palace competition feel wrong? But no one dared to question it. After all, Lord Ice God was still sitting on top. The maze trains one's thinking ability and judgment, so it naturally became a part of the competition. As if sensing the confusion of the surrounding people, Ling said calmly, I see. Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators felt enlightened. Strange. Why do I feel like this ice god has a way with words? His ability to trick people is very similar to a certain bad guy. Wuching, do you feel the same? Looking at the ice god on the ice throne, Su Yueyao frowned slightly. A trace of doubt flashed through her beautiful eyes. Luo Wuching nodded slightly. Why did this Lord Ice God on the ice throne feel similar to her husband when it comes to bluffing people? Sigh, this part of the plot is not written well. Let's end the Ice God competition early. If it's not written well, then it's a bit lame. Chapter 640. At this moment, the surrounding cultivators could see the scene inside the huge ice crystal on the square of Ice God City. However, when they saw that many cultivators were trapped inside and were unable to get out of the maze, many of their faces turned serious. They seemed to have underestimated this maze. Even if these cultivators used their spiritual energy, they would not be able to find the real way out. Some of them were even going around in circles without knowing anything. This caused many cultivators who were watching the show outside to break out in cold sweat. Even if they were to enter this maze, they would not know how to get out. They would only be lost and unable to get out. This maze is not simple. General Heavenly Ice and the other two elders frowned as their gazes landed on the ice crystal. They were shocked to find that if they were to enter the maze, they would not be able to get out. Lord Ice God, is this really the Ice God tournament? On the ice throne, Spirit glanced at General Heavenly Ice and asked, Heavenly Ice, you have always been good at killing and attacking. If I were to put you in the maze, would you be able to get out? Hearing this, General Heavenly Ice's heart skipped a beat. He quickly thought about the meaning behind her words. After a long while, he smiled apologetically and said, Lord Ice God, you must be joking. This is a maze designed by Lord Ice God. How could this old man possibly get out? Is that so? Hearing this, Spirit did not know whether to agree or disagree. A glint flashed across her beautiful eyes as she lifted her head to look at the image projected by the ice crystal. Guys, look! Where are the two of them? They are not moving at all. Could it be that they are afraid? Tisk tisk, they are not moving at all. They can't get out no matter what. Seems like they have given up. What a coward! At this moment, sounds of discussion came from the square, instantly attracting the attention of many people. They saw, in this ice trial, a young man and a fat fish were still at the starting point of the maze. All the cultivators who were participating in the Ice Palace tournament had already entered the maze and were looking for a way out. However, they were still at the same spot. What the F***CK? That kid still has the mood to eat an apple? Is this the fearlessness of an outcast? When they saw the young man calmly biting an apple at the starting point with a leisurely look, it made them gnash their teeth in anger and want to beat him up. If you eat an apple here, what will the cultivators who are on the verge of crying inside do? It's this kid again. Hiss. Why does he look so familiar? If only this brat could raise his head. On the ice chair, General Heavenly Ice frowned. This kid. Why does he look more and more like the guy who killed my grandson tens of thousands of times? At this very moment, in the ice trial space. Fellow Taoist Ning, if we don't hurry up, we won't make it in time. Is Grandpa you going to fail for the 40th time? Seeing that Ning Tian wasn't moving and was even casually taking a bite of the apple, Fathead Carp couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Then why don't you set off on your own? Ning Tian took a bite of the apple and rolled his eyes at him. Cough. Grandpa, you was trying to protect you. Fathead Fishman blushed and coughed dryly. So, do you want an apple? Ning Tian took out another apple. Fathead Fish. It was stunned for a moment and was about to take it, but Ning Tian said again, you have to pay for it. Fathead Fish was already going crazy. Okay, Grandpa, you will give it to you. Just as Fathead Fish was about to take out the money to take it, Ning Tian put away the apple again, which made Fathead Fish go crazy. It's about time. Ning Tian glanced around. There were only 2 of them at the beginning of the maze. What's about time? Fathead Fish was taken aback. The opportunity to win. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth raised slightly, and then he finished the apple in his hand in one bite, and then silently passed the apple core into Fathead Fish's pocket using the space law. Fellow Taoist Ning, do you know how to get out of this maze? Fathead Fish didn't know anything about the apple core. It only knew that it might succeed this time. I don't know. Ning Tian smiled and shook his head. A light flashed in his eyes, and he said meaningfully, who said that you have to get out of this maze to win? You just need to go to that platform and eliminate the opponent, right? Huh, what do you mean? Hearing this, Fathead Fish was dumbfounded. Why did it feel that its brain circuit couldn't keep up? Watch carefully and learn. Ning Tian chuckled and then raised his hand. And this scene was also seen by all the cultivators outside. What was this guy who only knew how to eat apples going to do? Everyone's gaze. They were all attracted by Ning Tian's move, and the 2 women seemed to have guessed what this guy was going to do. Time, stop. Divine sense, break. Space, shake. Following Ning Tian's 3 words, everything around began to change. Haha, I will definitely rush through. This time, originally. There were still confident cultivators in the maze saying bold words, but suddenly, a golden light flashed from their bodies, and their expressions and movements began to freeze and become stagnant. In the maze, it was as if everything had stopped. Seeing this scene, the group of cultivators outside, including the 4 supreme ancient gods of the 4 Ice Division, were all stunned. This is time law, and all this was not over. The moment all the cultivators in the maze stopped, an invisible force blasted on their defenseless bodies. Suddenly, their momentum was shattered, and they spat out a mouthful of blood uncontrollably. Above the maze, a huge invisible hand clenched into a fist and punched the maze heavily. In an instant, the power of space erupted. Boom, rumble. In an instant, an invisible force of space destroyed the entire ice labyrinth, and the ice fell down. Not only did the labyrinth fall, but the cultivators who had been frozen by the law of time also fell. In an instant, the labyrinth between the starting point and the victory platform had already disappeared on the spot. At this moment, there was a deathly silence in the square. All the spectating cultivators and the guards of the Ice God Palace were dumbfounded. What was this operation? How could this be? This was completely unconventional. It was fine if Lord Ice God did not play by the rules. But what the hell was this young man doing? Why did he not play by the rules? This is time law and space law. Who exactly is this young man? Elder Su Bing was shocked. She immediately saw through the means that Ning Tian had just used. 2 laws augmented his body. This young man was definitely not simple. Chapter 641. In the ice trial space, Fathead Carp looked at everything that just happened with a dumbfounded expression. He was still in a daze and couldn't extricate himself. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said with a trembling voice, Taoist. Taoist Ning, I'm afraid this isn't against the rules, right? Against the rules? Against what rules? Ning Tian spread his hands innocently and looked at Fathead Carp. Didn't you understand the rules just now? If you eliminate all your opponents, won't you win? Look, aren't they already eliminated? What kind of bad intentions could the founder have? If I can eliminate them now, why would I wait for you to pass the maze? The founder really didn't want to eliminate this group of cultivators early. He just didn't want to waste their time. The founder was such a good person. Fathead Carp's mouth twitched. Damn, he really knows how to play. So, Are you a failure? Ning Tian took out another apple and took a bite with a smile on her face. Huh. He actually asked me if I'm a failure? Fathead Carp wanted to cry but had no tears. Damn it. He used 2 laws of heaven and earth, and he actually asked me if I'm a failure? You really think too highly of me. Now you know how to win, right? Ning Tian took a bite of the apple and looked at Fathead Carp. Understood. That's to damn it. You sneak attacked me, Adong. Fathead Carp nodded solemnly. However, before it finished speaking, a foot stretched out and kicked its butt. Then, it fell down. What do you know? If you knew, I wouldn't have to do it. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at it. He had already emphasized that he wanted to eliminate all the opponents. This guy didn't take the initiative to jump down and insisted on kicking him. Phew, done. There's no difficulty. Next, we just have to wait for the fish to take the bait. Ning Tian stretched and glanced at the open space in front of him. After thinking carefully, he raised his hand and a cold blue light appeared. A simple maze with 2 bins emerged just like that. Then, he swaggered into the room. Now that the labyrinth was gone and the opponent had been eliminated, there shouldn't be anyone who had any objections, right? The rules did not say that he had to walk through this maze. He had to destroy it, and then create another one using the law of ice. Wasn't that the same? Seeing Ning Tian's miraculous operation in the ice trial space, the group of cultivators on the square of the ice god city were dumbfounded. So, it could be played like this? F***C. So it's that simple. I can do it too. Some cultivators were unconvinced. You're going? Do you have the laws of time? Do you have spatial laws? Do you have the ice laws? It looks simple, but without these 3, what are you going to do? At the side, many people rolled their eyes. I refuse to accept this. If you don't like it, then hold it in. Ning Tian's mastery and understanding of the laws of heaven and earth stunned all the spectating cultivators. No one had expected that someone would be able to grasp 3 laws of heaven and earth at once. On the other hand, the cultivators who were eliminated felt indignant and depressed. Damn it, you've already grasped 3 laws of heaven and earth, yet you still want to compete with us for the right to win the Sky Palace Grand Competition. He actually grasped 3 laws of heaven and earth. One of them is the law of ice. A glint flashed across Elder Su Bing's eyes as he murmured, Lord Ice Goddess, that young man who used the laws of ice wouldn't be your disciple, right? At this moment, the Imperial Ice Elder raised his eyebrows slightly. He could not help but look over curiously. Hearing this, the gazes of the surrounding cultivators all turned towards them. Lord Ice God was hosting the competition, and the young man even grasped the law of ice. This made people suspect that the young man might be Lord Ice God's disciple. No. Spirit shook her head. Ling shook her head slightly. Her tone was indifferent, as if she was talking about a completely unrelated person. Hearing this, Elder Su Bing and the others nodded and laughed. That's right. How could Lord Ice God accept someone as his disciple so easily? After all, Lord Ice God has extremely high standards. After so many years, I've never seen Lord Ice God satisfied with anyone. General Heavenly Ice seemed to heave a sigh of relief when he heard this. At this moment, in the ice trial space, Ning Tian leisurely walked through the ice maze he created and stepped onto the ice platform. There was an ice sword on it. Pulling it out would mean victory and the end of the competition. You've shocked the 4 Ice Division. You've shocked a group of cultivators in the Ice God City. At this moment, the system's voice sounded again. Reward obtained. Fish's Memory Advanced Experience Card. Introduction. When the opponent consumes a large amount of spirit chi, use this card to obtain 7 seconds of the opponent's memory. Oh, Fish's Memory Card? Hearing this, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly and then silently put away the card. Perhaps it would have a miraculous effect later. Then, let's end this. Next, I should be able to watch a good show. Ning Tian murmured and then directly pulled out the ice sword from the ground. Everything was over. In the Ice God City Square, following the disappearance of the dazzling blue light, a group of cultivators that had just entered the ice trial space appeared. However, they were all lying on the ground with bruises all over their faces as they looked at their surroundings in confusion. What the F asterisk CK? The ice trial space is over? What's going on? Why does my face hurt so much? Who the F asterisk CK hit me? When they saw that the trial space was over and their faces were all bruised and swollen, they were all a little confused. For them who had been frozen by time, it was like a blink of an eye. Phew. Now, can we announce the winner? Out of all the cultivators who had walked out of the ice trial space, only Ning Tian was still standing in the square. He bit an apple and looked at the 5 people in front of him with a smile. Yes, Elder Su Bing hesitated for a moment and then nodded slightly. Then this little friend is the winner of this grand ice competition. Until now, Elder Su Bing was a little confused. This was definitely the most ridiculous winner of the ice competition that he had ever announced. In the past, it was always after a round of killing, but now, the young man in front of him had swept away all of them. This brat. When Ning Tian looked up at them, General Tian Bing suddenly reacted. F asterisk CK. Wasn't this brat the bastard who had killed his grandson tens of thousands of times? Brat. So it's you. You're courting death. In the next moment, General Tianbing let out a low growl filled with murderous intent. Then, the violent aura of a supreme ancient god spread in all directions and targeted Ning Tian. You're courting death. The roar resounded through the entire ice god city. At this moment, all the cultivators were stunned. A trace of doubt flashed across their eyes. What was wrong with General Heavenly Ice all of a sudden? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.